Alright, let's try that again. I don't know what it is. This software just does not like this game. Keeps glitching out. Weird. What? Oh. Broken. MP3 player. Huh. Alright, this is a little better. Kinda. Fuck. This is gonna get hairy. Damn it. You kind of need to go. A zombie claw. Is that what they have? Just claws? Oh, I guess I was pretty close. When am I gonna unlock something new? Oh, I gotta survive occupations. Got it. Alright, well, let me hit the bathroom now that I got all this correct now. Okay, I'm back. You know what? While we're taking breaks, let's take a little smoke break too while we watch some comics
He looks
here.
at the people who worship Mephisto, and all he sees is violence, hatred, and bitterness. They are vile creatures! And then he will ask himself, if they as people are the reflections, then what does Mephisto truly look like? And a few moments later, Luke walks Matt out holding the bat, telling everyone it's okay to stand down. They're coming out. But as all of the officers continue to keep their guns aimed, Saunders tells everyone to take the shot. Misty yells, wait, they can't do that. The commissioner is in the line of fire. Jessica pulls out her gun, telling him to call off the order. And Saunders laughs, telling her, I wouldn't do that. He then yells over the radio to take the shot, and suddenly everyone opens fire. Bullets begin to spray everywhere, with Matt taking most of them. Luke tries to pull Matt down to give him some cover, but just as Luke thinks that this is the end, he begins to hear a tink over and over, and he looks back to see Nighthawk over him with his cape extended, shielding them, and he asks, do you not understand the word careful? Once the bullets stop, Luke carries Matt back to the others, and when he looks down at Saunders, he punches him. You're fired! Later, Luke tells Nighthawk that he's sorry about Turk, but Nighthawk tells him not to worry. There will be other days where he isn't going to have to choose between a criminal and saving the commissioner's life. Luke then holds out the bulletproof vest, telling him, thanks for the loan. Not exactly bulletproof skin, but it's close enough. Nighthawk laughs as he leaves, telling Luke to hang on to it. I get a feeling you're gonna need it again. It all begins here, Pilgrim. A tale so breathtaking and tragic, we can't yet show you the title. Don't you dare skip to the end. We know it's hard to wait, but there's plenty of drama for you to get through first. Our story begins as Nighthawk, who is just slow enough returning from the Ultraverse to save poor Harry Osborn from falling into a coma. Even though Gwen Stacy and Sam Wilson are by Harry's side, Nighthawk knows that this calls for him to take off the mask and show his support, not as the masked hero, but as Kyle Richmond. It seems that Harry has gotten himself into a heap of trouble when he used the ever-growing popular street drug, Super Serum. Everyone thought that Harry managed to get past his habits, but being the son of Norman Osborn could drive a person into dangerous territory. If anyone is to blame for this happening, it's Norman himself, everyone says, though they do not know that Norman himself has overheard that conversation. So later, as Kyle leaves for Capitol Hill, he knows that it would be easy to blame Norman. Not only for being a bad father, but also because Norman is none other than the criminal mastermind known as the Goblin. The Goblin has unwittingly been a thorn in Nighthawk's side for many reasons, notably when he attacked Nighthawk in the Night Cave, finding out Nighthawk's true identity. However, with an alchemy-enhanced punch, the Goblin was knocked out, hitting his head and causing amnesia. Nighthawk used what skills he had in the medical field to assist Norman on his recovery, but ultimately it wouldn't help the part of his memory that had been lost. After that, Norman had forgotten not only that he used to be the Goblin, but even who Nighthawk truly was. This brought guilt upon Nighthawk, the fear of having so much power. How could he ever trust himself that this wouldn't happen again? It wasn't until he met with the Falcon that he was reminded why he donned the mask in the first place, to inspire people to stand up for themselves. Meanwhile, in the unsettling stillness of the hospital room that Harry Osborn is in, Norman asks himself, could Kyle Richmond be right? Did he really do this to his son? Why, yes, he did. He refused to accept Harry for who he was. He tried to make him into someone that was better, but instead he broke his heart. He is a failure of a father. He is the villain of our story. But as the machines in the room beep, they begin to cause Norman some distress, sending flickering images into his mind. What are these images? Why is Nighthawk standing over him? A villain. Villain. That's it. The way that Kyle said villain. Kyle Richmond is Nighthawk, and he is the Goblin. He remembers everything. But no. This isn't his fault. This is Nighthawk's fault. Nighthawk poisoned Harry, and now Nighthawk will pay. Later, back in the Night Cave, Sam Wilson gets ready to go out on patrol, telling himself that he still can't believe it. Him, a kid from the U Street corner, chilling out in one of the coolest headquarters old money can buy. But Sam's trusty feathered friend Redwing notices something and caws. Sam says that if there's one thing that he knows, it's that there's something getting Redwing nervous. And that would mean that something bad is, before the young hero could finish his sentence, a blast hits Red Wing and Goblin swoops in on his glider, telling him that he's sorry that he had to do that. Out of the three, I actually liked the big chicken the best. Sam gets ready to take off, but Goblin throws one of his pumpkin bombs, destroying Sam's suit and knocking him out. Later, as Nighthawk comes back to the Night Cave after putting away Craven the Hunter, yet again, he feels an unnatural stillness in the air. And with a scent of brimstone, it doesn't take America's greatest investigator long enough to read the clue. He calls out to the Night Pooter to run a search for a tracking device. And as the Night Pooter displays Falcon's location, Nighthawk knows that Sam is in danger. And when the time calls for speed, Nighthawk quickly jumps into the Hawk Rod. He races to Chesapeake Bay Bridge to find Goblin, but with the sun still up, he would have to fight without his alchemaic powers. Goblin yells that he has driven his son to self-destruction with constant badgering and self-insertion, and for that he must make a choice. Either leave this existence permanently or the Falcon dies. Nighthawk quickly climbs up the bridge, knowing that he would be fighting at a disadvantage. But this is Falcon's life that they're talking about. Goblin manages to give him the slip at first, nearly knocking Nighthawk off of the bridge and back onto the hard pavement. But Nighthawk tells himself that he can do this. He has trained with the greatest fighters in the world. The Order of the Crane Mother, the Black Marvel, Princess Zarda. He is more than just his superpowers. He is still Nighthawk, even when the sun is still up. With a daring leap, Nighthawk gives it his all as he throws himself into the air, kicking Goblin off of the speeding glider. While Goblin recovers from the nasty hit, Nighthawk rushes to Falcon's side to free him, but Goblin has one more trick up his sleeve. So he hops back onto his glider, aiming straight for the two of them, smacking into Falcon, knocking him over the edge. Falcon plummets down towards the waters below, knowing that he won't make it in time. So Nighthawk throws his Hawker ring to grab a hold of Falcon's leg. There's a sudden snap, and as Nighthawk pulls Falcon up, he's unresponsive. Goblin flies by laughing, yelling at him what thrills, what drama, what timing! Well, except for the part where Nighthawk didn't realize the sun was down, and he was using his full night strength to catch the poor man's body.
Night strength.
A force certainly just as lethal as the impact of Chesapeake
That's what's
Bay.
real.
It would have been fitting revenge to force a hero to watch his partner be killed before him, but it's so much better to watch a hero kill his own partner. And with nothing but rage in his eyes, Nighthawk leaps off the bridge into the Goblin, sending the both of them crashing into a car below. Police Commissioner Luke Cage hurries over asking if everything is okay. Why not let them handle it from here? And Nighthawk smacks him, telling him, no, this is mine. Goblin coughs, climbing out of the wreckage, stating, Kai! But Nighthawk stops him. Don't. Goblin gets to his feet, telling him, sure. Nighthawk, you're mad, I get it. But we should talk, right? It's what civilized men like us do. We can make a deal, right? Goblin continues to spin his words, buying time as the Goblin glider rockets back towards our hero. Without even looking back, Nighthawk catches the glider, ripping the metal apart with his own bare hands, cutting himself in the process. Goblin doesn't taunt. Goblin doesn't laugh. Goblin doesn't say anything. He knows that there is nothing that he can say or do but cherish his last fleeting moments. The metal in Nighthawk's hand slices through within milliseconds on its way to Norman Osborn's neck. Kyle Richmond disappears into himself. He reminds himself of a speech he gave at the House of Representatives, that these new heroes have the power to save them from the forces that would disrupt their society, but they can't determine the course of their culture. Can use their strength to fight crime, but they can't make the decision for what justice is. Justice must always remain in the hands of the people. The hands of the people. Nighthawk screams as the metal gets closer to Norman's throat, but he stops himself, telling Commissioner Luke Cage that he's all theirs. Arrest the murderer. And with that, it's now time, my friends. The title we hoped we'd never see. The death of the dynamic double. And one survived, you say? And yes, true believer. Nighthawk lives in body, but inside him, where once there was a light fueled by the night, there is only cold darkness. The Olcog slams his fist into the ground, stating, Odin tasted like beard and sour mead. The one with the pretty horns was a foul brew of black magic and Jotun's blood. Didn't sit well. The rest tasted like a great deal of
No.
What do you suppose you'll taste like? And as the All-Gog begins to swallow his prey, he spits them back out laughing. Soft and sweet, figured, just like a princess. And I've devoured plenty of them. Power Princess stands back up, wiping the blood and spit from her face. No, and I can promise you that you've never known a princess quite like me. And she was right. Power Princess came from an island of women who could drink anyone under the table. No matter who they are or where in the heavens or netherworld they sit, Power Princess and her sisters could surely be the ones still drinking long before anyone else could keep up. Power Princess places her hands on her hips, calling out the All-Gog, telling him that he is the greatest of fools. A deep bellowing howl can be heard, and the All-Gog says that it is a bold statement for anyone who is already halfway down his gullet. Power Princess holds out her hands, telling him, I was, but it would seem that I left something behind. As the All-Gog stops for a moment, he feels a rumbling in his belly, and then suddenly a gauntlet shoots out, and Power Princess tells him that these were forged with utopian Uru and bound to her soul by astral chains. In other words, they come when their mistress calls. The All-Gog falls to his knees, trying to hold his entrails together, but Power Princess puts back on the gauntlets and tells him to get up. She wants him on his feet so that she can end him. Later that night, Power Princess looks at her garden atop the Statue of Liberty, looking at more statues. Not only is she the strongest that there is, but her people also knew the ancient secret of turning flesh into stone. But Power Princess finds herself bored. It's been almost an hour since she spilled anyone's blood in anger. She could call on Hyperion, a sultry whisper is all it takes, and he'll come streaking in like a big, lusty, muscle-bound warhead. But part of her fears that it'll be one of those nights where he would drone on about the children or American history or the other things that are equally useless to her. Sometimes it's enough to make her miss the old days. Namor. Now there was a man. You simply haven't lived until you've made love on the sea floor while sharks feed on the Nazis you've just torn to pieces. But as Power Princess reminisces about the old days, a thunderous crack-a-boom can be heard, and the princess knows that this is not just any lightning strike. She heads into her armory, digging through her weapons, thinking that the All-Gog hadn't been seen since he felled the last of his sworn enemies years ago. And it would seem that there's no coincidence that he returns now. There's a restless ghost stirring somewhere within the heavens. Where else to begin her search other than the great graveyard of the gods? Where the Man-Gog became the final All-Father, where begun the Ragnarok wars that left the heavens hollow, where she salvaged the last piece of a broken bridge to forge a rainbow axe, in a realm once known as Asgard. Within moments, Power Princess is taken away to the ruins of Asgard with her axe, and when she arrives, something shoots past her. She looks around to see an object floating, and it would be a man who seems a bit out of place. She asks who he is, and the man, known as Thor, tells her, I'm not so certain anymore. I only know that I am sober for the first time in more eons than I can recall, and verily, I do not like it. I do not have any memories, but this feels wrong. This is not the world that I know. Power Princess asks if this Thor is the one who caused the unnatural thunderstorm, and Thor tells her, "'Tis not the storm that is unnatural, 'tis everything else in this realm. I'm finally remembering who I was, only to find the rest of the world has forgotten itself or disappeared like everyone that I have ever. Wait, who are you? And how did you come by that axe?" Power Princess throws the axe. Thank the heavens. She was worried that he'd be peaceful. Her name is Power Princess, and let her show him why. The object swirling around, Thor deflects the oncoming axe, and he looks at it, asking, "Beloved Bifrost, what in the name of Odin has happened to you? What happened to Asgard, the Golden Halls, the long ships sailing the stars? Not even Valhalla remains. What of father, of my mother?" Power Princess charges in, punching Thor in the chest hard enough to make him stagger. But as the flying object forces Power Princess back, it gives time for Thor to let out a thunderous belch. She shouts that she lost her people too, but he doesn't hear her whining about it so loud that she can shake the stars. Instead, she found a new home, new people, one worth fighting for. And fight she did. You know why no one missed the gods? Because of her. She punches again, shouting that she is the last daughter of Utopia, who did what no other god or goddess ever could. She actually earned the right to be worshipped. So on your knees as guardian and pray to your princess. But before she can deliver the final blow, an object shoots through, hitting Power Princess in the face as she asks, "What is that blasted thing? It felt like
I didn't.
Thor catches it and holds
Whatever.
it. I remember. It was called Mjolnir, the hammer of heaven. And I am its
go more
master, the
this
lord of
way.
living thunder, the blood son of the all-father Odin, the mighty prince of Asgard. Power Princess comes running in. Enough talking! Show me who you are with punches. But Thor begins to fade away. I remember everything. I remember thee. However, it is too late, and with another thunderous roar, Thor is gone. Later, Power Princess gathers the rest of the Squadron Supreme, telling them that she has searched the ruins of Asgard and there was no sign of this man, except his last words are still echoing in her ears, in the ether. Have any of you heard of a team called the Avengers? Now for a side story, giving us a little more context. It begins in Iceland, the age of Vikings. Then, it was the night of bloodshed, and for the first time in more centuries than he could count, Thor was sober. He watched the young Princess Zarda, before she became known as the Power Princess, lob off her first head. All Thor did was sit and drink. Then in Berlin, 1945, Princess Zarda battled against the Nazis and celebrated with the American soldiers when they claimed the head of Adolf Hitler. Thor was there, sitting and drinking. But something was off. Zarda was there to stop Gore, the God Butcher, and his God Bomb. There were versions of Zarda that came from all across time. However, the thing was, it shouldn't have been her. It should have been Thor, and now Thor remembers. Thor can taste the storm ahead, and it tastes like hail and pain and raging Uru. All the things that he will rain down upon his enemies and upon the mysterious thieves that have stolen his life. This storm tastes like revenge. It tastes like fire. And at that moment, Phoenix appears before him, stating that she's going to take a guess. And the world's not exactly the way he remembers it, right? Well, he can call her Phoenix, and her friends can help with that. In the office of Dr. Gwen Stacy in Ravencroft Asylum, Gwen sits looking over her files on Bullseye, thinking back to something her mother once told her. It is the duty of the well to take care of the sick. Gwen's mother was a wise woman, and she knew something that so many supposed professionals overlook in their need to seem superior. One of the most important tools in helping others is to meet them at their level. And after watching her mother handle a patient who was ready to kill, and seeing her talk them out of it, Gwen knew what she wanted. To help people as they wanted to be treated, not as you want to be treated. Gwen sits back in her chair, stating that they will be starting an assessment in a few days, and until then, try to practice mindfulness. The guard picks Bullseye up out of his chair, telling him to move it, and then Dr. Stravinsky comes in, stating that it would seem that she is making friends. Gwen laughs, stating that everywhere she goes, really, there are the goblin files. Everything that he needs is right here. Dr. Stravinsky clears his throat. Right. Also, do you have any dinner plans this evening? Gwen gets a text and tells him, actually, I already have plans for the night. Perhaps another time, Doctor. Later, at the diner downtown, she says that if she keeps feeding her, there won't be any room for dessert. And they are supposed to go to that fancy rolled-up ice cream place. Misty Knight laughs, spoon-feeding Gwen, stating that they'll get to it. But what kind of friend would she be if she didn't insist on at least trying this? Gwen takes a bite, telling her that it is incredible, but she seems a bit tense. Is everything okay, Misty? Misty sighs, stating that she remembers the Ricochet killer, right? DC's least favorite son interfered before they could catch him. Gwen says that they both know that she was the next target, and if Nighthawk didn't step in, she would have been killed. Misty tells her that as a DCPD detective, she'd be much happier if she got the chance to book him herself, instead of desperately trying to salvage her case after the Cape's meddling interference. Gwen takes Misty's hand, telling her that she knows it's frustrating when the Capes get involved, but she'd be lying if she said that she wasn't glad that she's safe now. Well, safer. Misty calls her the check and tells her still, There's something wrong with capes that can't be fixed.
Goddamn
and
chain
as she turns
reaction.
back, she sees Gwen looking off and asks if everything is okay. Gwen thinks to herself, she hates to keep secrets from Misty, but
One of those days.
at that moment, Misty's phone goes off and she answers it, her tone changing as she says that she understands. Gwen asks for a rain check on dessert, huh? And as Misty takes off for work, Gwen heads back to the night cave to do some research when she overhears on the radio that a murder has just recently occurred. She suits up, quietly sneaking into the residence of Nick Manilis. However, for Gwen, this isn't just a random victim. Nick was a cop who retired after the case went bad and he was injured. 25 years on the DCPD, handpicked by her father for his unit. He was there for her when her father passed. This was more personal. She looks at the window and notices peculiar scratch marks. And just then the door opens and Misty tells Gwen to freeze. But Gwen jumps out the window before Misty could even get close. She can't let her friend catch her as a cape. Later, Gwen cross-references all of the cases that she's seen that had those carvings, noticing a pattern with how all the victims died and how often there was hair left behind. She thinks on it and then it hits her. She says to herself, no. A while back when she was at Capital State University, she had a professor by the name of Miles Warren. He became obsessed with her, even started propositioning her. She put up with it for a while, but eventually she went to her advisor to explain what was happening. Instead of transferring her to another class, the advisor confronted Warren. Even her friend Flash Thompson wanted to knock some sense into him. After he lost his job, all of his credibility, and his respect, Miles Warren lost his humanity and became the creature known as Jackal. He never blamed her. In fact, he just got more obsessed with her. He was later captured and put into Ravencroft, but a riot broke out and he managed to escape. And with not much to go on, Gwen rides over to the old CSU building in hopes of finding something. And as she finds some of the same fibers as the previous cases, lightning strikes and Jackal says, "Finally, you came! What took so long?" Jackal jumps down laughing. "I know you felt it, the connection that we have." Gwen asks him what connection, they're strangers. But Jackal asks her, "Why continue the charade? I know that you're Gwen. How else could I have taken care of your problems? We were meant to be together." Gwen tells him no, he killed people who were close to her. He's sick. He needs help. Jackal looks at her. "Those were obstacles, and I've gotten rid of them. Well, there is one left, but don't worry, she's next." As Jackal charges in, Gwen dodges, but there's something different about the Jackal. When they fought before, he would fight like an animal, savage attacks with no strategy. But this, his reactions aren't instinctual like they were before. They're calculated. He's countering her moves as if he has years of combat training. Jackal jumps up and waits, and Gwen thinks to herself that he's watching her, studying her. Well, then it's time to use somebody else's playbook. As he leaps back down towards her, she kicks him back, firing her grappling gun into his shoulder, retracting the line, launching herself feet first into his face. He rips the line, falling back, telling her, "Do not make me hurt you. All I want to do is take care of you." He lunges one more time, but Gwen uses it to counter and slam him into the ground, ripping off the mask. And with it off, she sees that it's Flash Thompson. "Wait, I did this for you. Back then I thought that there was something wrong with me. I practically begged to be with you, and nothing. And then I realized it was her. Jackal made you afraid. So I knew I had to take care of him so that you could finally feel safe. There's just one more thing standing in our way of being together, and that's Misty." Gwen leans in, telling him that she is sorry. "Just relax. Shh." And she sticks Flash with a needle. Gwen takes off her mask as he passes out. "I've got you now. You're gonna be okay, I promise." Later at Ravencroft, Gwen sees Flash stating that they're going to help him, but he needs to meet her halfway. He slams his fist. "I am meeting you all the way. We can be together. You don't have to be Nightbird anymore." As Flash is struggling, the guards get up and Gwen tells him it's okay. Flash is agitated and clearly delusional. Her presence is making things worse. She'll submit the paperwork to have him transferred to Dr. Jenkins. And when she finishes up and gets ready to go home, she sees Misty Knight is outside waiting. She tells her that she didn't expect to see her for a few days, but Misty tells her that her case got wrapped up quicker than she thought, figuring that it was time to cash in on that rain check. As Misty hands Gwen a bag, Gwen says that she didn't. She did. And once the two finish their rolled up ice cream, they get into Misty's car, and Misty says that after the last few weeks, they both learned to break, huh? Gwen sits back and lets out a sigh, stating that she managed to get the night off. Her phone is on silent. Misty then asks, "Where to, Dr. Stacy?" Gwen says, "Wherever the road takes them, Detective Knight." It was a sunny day in Westchester, New York, when a man takes his family to the park to play catch with his kids. As the man throws the ball and laughs, his wife says that sometimes she can't tell who of the three of them is the biggest kid. But then the sounds of an engine can be heard, and as the leaves begin to get swept away in the wind, a helicopter flies down. The man looks up at who it is and says that the answer is no, he is retired. And Electra tells him, not anymore, he isn't. There's nobody who can pull a trigger like him. There's nobody who can kill like him. And the man tells them that they swore to him that he was out. He earned happiness. And Electra hands him a duffel bag telling him that this mission is bigger than his half acre of paradise. This job requires a different kind of squadron. This target has the potential to wipe out everyone that he cares about, the power to rewrite history. And Frank, isn't this reality worth fighting for? The Punisher takes out his old suit. All right, I'm in. And later, Electra knocks over a chess piece with her own, telling him that she has found her knight. The man across on the board asks if that was a wise choice. There will only ever be one chance to pull off this assassination. Might I remind you that this is an existence-level threat, and time is definitely not on our side. They've tracked the target's signature to a compound in the People's Republic of Chernia, where he teleports in and out.
I'm robbing this turkey blind.
President Coulson cannot send the Squadron Supreme of America without sparking an international incident, and surprise is critical. Electra tells him not to worry, Defense Secretary, there are still a few moves left. And she moves another piece onto the board, and the Defense Secretary says that is a very aggressive strategy, a sort of Latverian gamble. She asks if he has concerns that she can pull it off, and the Defense Secretary says that he does have concerns about who she has assembled for her 6-member squadron. So far, her team consists of Punisher, Cloak, Crossbones, and a Murder Hornet. Though Hornet, she needed a bit of behavioral modification to get her back into the game. Electra puts her chess piece down, stating checkmate, and the Defense Secretary says that her aggressive strategy seems to have paid off. So Electra tells him because she was willing to sacrifice any and all pieces. Later, in the People's Republic of Chernia, Electra and her team teleports in, trying to stay within the shadows. Electra spots the magic textile manipulator, Remnant, keeping watch over the compound, telling Hornet that she's up, take out the sentry. Remnant begins to hear a buzzing sound and then slaps the back of his neck when he feels something sting it. He pulls his hand back to see a small hornet telling them that they just punched way above their weight class. And then a massive swarm of hornets appear, and they begin to chase him around. After punching the swarm and dispersing it, he yells, "Ah! I have to do better than that!" But no sooner than when he finishes is the cracking sound of a gunshot heard, and the bullet shoots straight through Remnant's head. Frank reloads his gun, telling Hornet that he appreciates the distraction. And Crossbones yells, "Hell, man, that was a shot! Such an honor to be working with you to blow the brains out of some dirtbag." Everyone gets ready to move when Cloak stops, looking at Remnant, and remembers something. He could see Dagger, and she was calling out to him, and then Electra and Crossbones began to drag him away. Electra asks him if everything's okay, and Cloak tells her, yeah, he'll be fine. Meanwhile, inside, Mink, Haywire, Foxfire, Thermite, and Moonglow all watch the security cameras when Foxfire says that the northeast camera cut out for 22 seconds. Haywire says that maybe it was a glitch, and Foxfire tells him that the security system is centuries ahead of its time. It's too advanced to glitch. Elsewhere, Crossbones begins to cut a hole into the wall and kicks it in, telling everyone that they're in. And you're welcome! Everyone rushes in, with Electra telling Hornet to go ahead and hack the systems. Once they get a map of the place, they're going to teleport in but at that moment, Punisher asks if anyone hears that. Crossbones says that it's probably the damn Hornets. Hornet calls back, stating that she heard that. And Punisher tells her, no, it sounds like. But before he could finish, dozens of drones fly out of the hallway, opening fire on everyone. More and more drones pile in, and just as they're starting to overwhelm the group, Hornet says that she's got it. The complex's power supply seems to be routed into this area. Pretty sure that this is where the command center is. Punisher snaps at her, pretty sure? And Electra says that it'll have to do. Cloak, let's go. Seconds later, Cloak appears in the control room, with Foxfire stating that she will give them a chance to surrender, but they all know that they're not going to take it. Haywire shoots out his metallic tangle wire, stating that there doesn't need to be any talking, and he begins to strangle Crossbones. But Crossbones grabs the wire, pulling it, flinging Haywire at him. Once close, Crossbones grabs him by the head, slamming him into the ground. Mink lunges at Electra, stating that they think themselves to be good guys. The world needs to be freed of this police state. Electra blocks the claws, stating that whatever the reason, the Redeemers sided with a madman plotting to bring down their entire way of life. She knocks Mink back, swiping with her sai, cutting Mink's throat, and then Moonglow rains hard light down, shouting that that was his friend. Cloak shields everyone, stating that she is fighting against the inevitable. His dark force absorbs all light. Moonglow begins to cry out, asking, "Do you think I don't know that? Ty?" Cloak pauses for a moment. "Dagger? But I saw you die in our fight against the Redeemers." Dagger tells him that what he has been brainwashed to believe by the behavioral modification machine is a lie, and she is sorry that she failed him that day, instead of letting him become their puppet. She should have killed him when she had the chance. She won't make the same mistake this time. Cloak tells her no, it's still him. He just understands the importance of Squadron's cause now. Elektra will help her see that. Don't struggle, just come with them. And Dagger yells, no, if she can't free him, she'll free everyone else. She flies up, shining her light, and Punisher says, I remember. Crossbones opens fire on Dagger's back. Great, with Cloak down and the Punisher forgetting that he was a killing machine, what do we do next? Punisher looks at the blood on the wall, asking, killing machine? I remember my family, and that they weren't actually alive. Foxfire stands in front of Dagger, telling Crossbones that he is forgetting one thing about her, that she can stop him with one hand behind her back. As she touches his armored power suit, it begins to crumble away as he shouts, what did you do? Foxfire says that it doesn't matter how big his guns are when you go up against someone with the power to decay matter. Pieces begin to fall as Crossbones asks, is that so? Let's see if you can decay a bullet before it hits you. But then there's another gunshot and Crossbones is shot in the head. As Punisher puts his gun down, Elektra holds her arms up, telling him, I am your friend. We don't kill friends, and if we don't kill the target, everyone that you cared about will be erased from existence, Frank. Punisher begins to shoot at her. Everyone that I cared about is already dead. You butchered my memories. Elektra weaves through the gunfire, stating that she is sorry for this, and she stabs him in the chest. Thermite sees that and says, okay, that was pretty cold, even by my standard, but we should have turned our back on. Hornet uses her power to grow to normal size, telling him, funny, she was thinking the same thing, and kicks the regulator pack that Thermite is carrying. Suddenly, Thermite explodes, taking everyone out who is close by, and as Elektra picks herself up, she hears clapping, and Kang the Conqueror steps out. That was a decent showing. Too bad your pathetic team didn't manage to do any real damage. She lunges at Kang, but he smacks her down, telling her it doesn't take a master of time to see that this timeline needs correction. These Redeemers helped provide the groundwork for my invasion forces to reset the world as it should be, with me in control, of course. As he picks Elektra up, she begins to laugh, and when he asks why she's smiling, she tells him because she is willing to sacrifice her pieces. The 6 of them came to lure him out. Kang asks, 6, but you only had 5. Just then, Cloak appears with the Winter Soldier. Both fire, hitting each other in the head, and Elektra sits down, telling him, checkmate. Later, Elektra begins to remember things about having her mind wipe, and the defense secretary telling her that the gambit was quite ingenious, luring Kang into a trap with his own hubris. She says that he wiped her mind too, didn't he? And the defense secretary tells her, of course.
Oh, it's a police station.
She was always his favorite assassin, and great use to the cause. As Elektra begins to say Kingpin, he stops her. It's Secretary of Defense Fisk now, if you don't mind. You've managed to snare some new recruits in Foxfire and Moonglow. We might even be able to salvage Frank Castle if he survives surgery. She begins to cry. I won't remember any of this, will I? And Fisk tells her, no. The board must always be reset. But why be conflicted? You were all villains, given a gift of redemption, whether you wanted it or not. Is it really so bad being a pawn for such an important game? Years ago, a city burns, and Hyperion shouts, this is madness! Heroes fighting heroes! Most of Connecticut is in ruins! Over what? A superhero registration act? You're a congressman! This isn't how you tend to handle policy disagreements! Nighthawk tells him that he will not be lectured on American diplomacy by someone who's not even from the planet. Kyle Richmond may work for the federal government, but Nighthawk never will! Hyperion stops. We both know that this is more than a piece of legislation. You're the smartest and scariest man in every room, congratulations. But it's still you that she loves, Kyle. You need to learn to live with that. Or as a friend. It will leave you bitter and broken, just like your part. But before Hyperion could finish, Nighthawk blasts him with energy, shouting, "You are not a god! You're only as pompous as one!" Hyperion charges in, punching the symbiote-infected Nighthawk, telling him that it doesn't take a history teacher to know that in a civil war, no one wins, both sides bleed. Let's see how the symbiote reacts when floated to the sun! Now, we go to the current time, and Hyperion and Nighthawk glare at each other, and Power Princess says that it is time for them to put aside their differences and stand together. She knows not who they are or whence they came, only that these individuals are calling themselves the Avengers. Hyperion says that he doesn't know anything about any Avengers, but he can say for Sunblast is sure, there is something very strange going on. There was something that Bruce Banner said before he killed him. It sent him searching into the Arctic, where he found someone in ice, or at least there used to be someone in ice, someone that they'd forgotten. Power Princess says that it doesn't matter, and Hyperion yells, "That's the thing that doesn't make sense. Maybe none of it does. Has anyone ever felt like there's something wrong with our world?" Power Princess folds her arms. If only we had America's greatest detective among our ranks, and everyone looks at Nighthawk. He asks, "Where exactly in the Arctic was this?" The Squadron Supreme begins to scour the globe looking for traces of the fabled Avengers, but over in the Night Cave, Nighthawk begins to look through some footage of Ravencroft Asylum. He pulls up an image asking Power Princess what does she see, and she tells him, well, she sees a man with a star-spangled shield. He tells her, no, not that, the other one, her. Echo was an assassin for the Kingpin. Mimicry fighting abilities, no alpha level powers. But do you recognize the energy signature that she is showing? Power Princess takes a closer look. By the bones of Gaia, that's the Phoenix. But Jean Grey is dead. I tore the wicked Ginger apart myself and flew the pieces to the four corners of the cosmos. Nighthawk tells her that they both know better than anyone that what dies doesn't always stay dead. They witnessed that firsthand with Hyperion and the Wolverine. Later up in space, Dr. Spectrum says that he has no idea why they're even searching here of all places. Nighthawk tells him, the energy signature that we found in the Arctic. It's the first scans that showed it to be Hyperion's, but it wasn't. It was something close. It's something that I believe that has only ever been recorded once before, many years ago, from the samples of the meteorite smuggled out of the Congo by a mercenary working for a government arms dealer, Howard Stark. The samples aren't important, it's the people that have been hiding them, who have been hiding themselves. A people who, for the first time in centuries, may have just opened their doors and given us a chance to find them. Africa, Dr. Spectrum scanned every square inch of it. Later, Dr. Spectrum stops his search in the savannah stating, this is it. Whatever Nighthawk is hoping to find, the prism says it's right here. Hyperion looks around. There's nothing for miles, nothing that my atomic vision can see anyway. Blur runs in circles, telling him that there is something here, alright, something he can't run through, and he can run through anything. So Power Princess says that there is a great power on this land. She can feel it, and moments later, Nighthawk pulls up a night rod stating the Phoenix, the readings from the Arctic, the star brand from Spectrum's battle in space, the atmospheric disturbances from Zara's encounter with the Asgardian, the trail of the Daywalker blade, it all leads here. Blur gets to work at the computer telling him, I'm hacking at super speed, and yep, there's definitely a hidden network here. Just let me try a few million password combos real quick. Dr. Spectrum asks, what kind of people have hidden themselves like this for years with all of this tech? Ones he can't trust, that's who. Nighthawk tells him, people have searched this site for centuries until it was forgotten, dismissed as a legend. Welcome to the lost land of Wakanda. As the barrier begins to fade, a voice then asks, America's mightiest heroes, huh? I don't think so. Captain America steps through leading Blade, Echo, Black Panther, Thor, and the Starbrand Child, stating, we're gonna be taking back our reality now. Avengers, assemble! At the end of this particular issue, there was another side story featuring Phil Coulson. In the Oval Office of President Coulson, Vice President Thunderbolt Ross, and White House Secretary J. Jonah Jameson, they ask, what are they going to do about the Avengers? They sound like a bunch of public menaces. Coulson sits at his desk, not saying a word, and the two go on calling their staff members, telling them to start gathering people together so that they can cut this off before it gets leaked to the media. On top of that, they're going to have a press release about how awful the country they're about to start bombing is, and no, it doesn't matter what country, pick one. Coulson reaches into his desk, pulling out a gun, shooting both Thunderbolt Ross and J. Jonah Jameson dead, then calls his secretary, telling them to prepare a press release on the assassinations of Ross and Jameson by sleeper agents from Wakanda. Make it appropriately stirring. As he hangs up, Mephisto slinks from the shadows in the form of a Doberman, stating, "You did the right thing. The more people who say the A-word, the more the cracks begin to show in this precious little world of ours." Coulson tells him that there weren't supposed to be any Avengers. What did we miss? And Mephisto says, "Nothing that can't be rubbed out and forgotten all over again." Coulson pauses. "Do you mean to kill Captain America?" And Mephisto tells him, "Yes. How does it make you feel, Mr. President?" Jonah begins to cough and Coulson shoots him again. "We should never have left him in the ice. I must be getting sentimental. What are the squadrons though? They're heading there now. If we lose the squadron, we lose the world." Mephisto growls, "I told you it wouldn't be easy. The devil's work, it never is. What about getting help? Our numbers are supposed to grow." But Mephisto stomps him. "Your numbers will grow, but the council won't commit. I don't trust you, and with good reason. We need to show them what we've shown this world." "And what is that, my son?" "That Mephisto makes dreams come true." Yes, he does. There's a good little president." Coulson then says, "I can't call the squadron back. Can't bomb Wakanda without drawing the world's attention. And there's only one way to handle this, sir. The same way that you remade the world in your image. I'll do it myself. With a helidrone. With their pandemonium cube." 2 years ago in Ontario, Canada, a battle took place. A battle that left the heroes in disarray as one of their shining lights, Hyperion, was killed. He died at the hands of Alpha Flight, notably the magically enhanced claws from Wolverine as they easily cut through his throat like soft butter. That was supposed to be the last stand. As the protectors of Canada, they had done a rather poor job up until that moment. The Squadron Supreme of America had led an army north of the border, annexed Alberta and British Columbia for their resources, and bombed the rest of Canada for daring to fight back. That country was left a corpse, a great white nothing, and Alpha Flight, they were beaten and broken. But before they could be wiped off the face of the earth, Shaman used his power to teleport what was left of Alpha Flight. After that, the US relentlessly sent squads in looking for any traces of Alpha Flight, threatening anyone who was harboring the terrorist with the death penalty. But eventually the team found themselves in Sudbury, Ontario, back with Professor Hudson. Hudson tells them that the increased frequencies of these raids are alarming. Oshawa was taken down and the Squadron Supreme is not far behind. In the last month alone, they've put more than 100 Canadian patriots in prison for supporting Alpha Flight to their losing allies. Guardian begins to get out of her mech suit, stating that they should just free them. Shaman can port them in, and they'll scoop up the prisoners and nuke the stupid buildings. Hudson says, does she not think the Squadron Supreme is already hoping for that? It's a dog and pony show. They're using these people as bait. Sasquatch says that he's with the Guardian. They can't just leave these people, but Wolverine stops them all. We're fighting to save the country, or what's left of it. I don't like it any more than the next person, but those people knew what they were signing up for. Sasquatch transforms, shouting, "Are you kidding? This has nothing to do with the war. The war is over and we lost. This is about the Squadron wanting revenge for you killing Hyperion, and you wanting revenge for them killing Jean Grey." Shaman shouts that is enough. It's been days since any of them have had a good night's rest. They're all on edge. Aurora pulls Sasquatch close, telling him to come on. Let's get some sleep. But while everyone tries to go to bed, Sasquatch can't sleep, telling Aurora that he can't keep doing this. There's no end to the running. He promised Mac and Heather that he'd go look after Claire. They didn't want her following in their footsteps as Victor and Vindicator. She was supposed to have a normal childhood. Shaman hasn't been the same since he lost his daughter. Logan will never admit that they've already lost. They have to stop this. He can't keep carrying all those innocent people on his conscience. Aurora tells him that she won't leave. Logan's not the only one who wants the Squadron dead. They killed her brother. She won't walk away. The next morning, Wolverine cracks open a beer, telling them that it's time for a team meeting, but Aurora tells him that Sasquatch is gone. Wolverine asks where, and she sips her coffee, telling him that she doesn't know. He was talking about how he couldn't do it anymore. The news of the Patriots winding up in prison really got to him. Guardian says that they need to go find him, but Wolverine takes another drink, wipes his lips, and tells them, no, this has been a long time coming. If he wants to go, then he can go. Same goes for the rest of you. If you want to leave, I'm not going to blame you. We've been running for a long time, stating that we're waiting for another shot at the Squadron Supreme, but really all we've been doing is putting other people's lives at risk because we helped them. Sasquatch couldn't live with that anymore, but to be honest, neither can I. If the Squadron wants to send their jackboots to take down our safe houses and arrest our people, hoping that one day they're going to find us, then hell, why not just give them what they're looking for? So several days later, Alpha Flight waited in a place that they knew was on the Squadron's list of safe houses to be raided. And when they did, the team fought hard. But on this run, Nighthawk didn't lead the soldiers. They were sent in alone. So Wolverine sent the soldiers back with a message that they are to stay off Canadian soil, seeing as they already took what they wanted. They can have Alberta and BC, and all the oil and lumber that they can handle. But what's left is theirs, and they aren't going to stop fighting for it. And the next team that comes here, they're going home in body bags. So the next day, as Wolverine and the others return, Hudson says that Sasquatch came back. Wolverine asks, I can see that. The question is why. Sasquatch tells him that he was out gathering intel and he knows where the prisoners are being held and how to break them out. With their little stunt the other night, the prisoners are now being moved to the US to stand trial. Shaman asks when they're being moved, and Sasquatch says tomorrow. They'll be held in Ottawa until then. He can't do this alone, and he knows that they don't see eye to eye, but Guardian says that they're going to stop this, right? And Wolverine tells her, of course. I'm going to work with Walt and come up with a plan. Everyone else rest up. We've got a big day ahead of us. The next day, the prison escort begins to leave Ottawa when Alpha Flight intervenes. But what they find in the van is the Squadron Supreme with Hyperion. He rockets out, backhanding Wolverine, and as Shaman gets ready to enchant his claws like before, Sasquatch grabs him before he can finish. Sasquatch squeezes on Shaman's neck until he passes out. I'm sorry. What I'm about to do is beyond forgiving. Meanwhile, across the way, Hyperion continues to beat into Wolverine, telling him, there is no sorcerer this time to save you. It's just you and me. After not moving for a bit, Hyperion grabs Wolverine by the hair and Wolverine asks, is that all you got? Hyperion's eyes glow red. No. Hyperion puts Wolverine's head into a vice grip between his hands, blasting him with the full power of the atomic vision. It was then that Wolverine realized it was his life for theirs. Dr. Spectrum asks if he's satisfied. Has his little fantasy revenge been fulfilled? Hyperion stares. Just take it. Wolverine's charred body is lifted off the ground and sent into space. Hyperion turns his attention on everyone else, his eyes still glowing, and Nighthawk tells him, no, the deal was Logan dies, everyone else lives. As promised, the prisoners will be freed, and with Logan gone, our interests in Canada are satisfied. The four of you are now free. As the squadron leaves, Aurora turns back to Sasquatch, screaming, traitor! Monster! Sasquatch tells them that he will not claim that he is not. He did what he had to. He sold his soul for her, for all of them. Guardian tells her to run. Sasquatch grabs it and holds it to his head, telling her to do it. Guardian trembles for a moment, smacking him with the gun, telling him no. She won't be like him. He yells, asking, what was I supposed to do? They weren't going to stop coming, and if I didn't, we'd all be executed. The squadron promised to leave us alone, let us live. It was the only way. Meanwhile, on an unknown moon, Wolverine crawls out, gasping for air, with Dr. Spectrum telling him that this place is devoid of life. No water, no sustenance, hell, there isn't even oxygen. He's going to take a guess that without it, that healing factor is going to be useless, or else his stay here is going to be a very, very unpleasant one. Bill Coulson never dreamed about flying or crawling on walls or riding a rainbow bridge to Asgard, but he grew up obsessed with superheroes, but never did he want to be one of them. He wanted to be the guy who even the gods had to make an appointment to see, and now he is that guy. Gods make the world better. Phil Coulson made it better. He didn't change everything, just only some things that annoyed him the most. There was no more daylight savings, no more cords getting tangled because everything is cordless now. No more restaurants that only serve Roxy Cola. But now it looks like he has to go to Wakanda himself and fix all of this, and then finally, there will be no more Avengers. Meanwhile, over in Wakanda, The Avengers are already trading blows to the Squadron Supreme. It's a fight that will change the world as we know it. Dr. Spectrum uses his prism to try and contain the Starbrand. Starbrand tells him that she doesn't want him to fight, she just wants to make him cry. She latches herself onto his neck, squeezing, telling him, "This is for Rocket." But while everyone is fighting each other, Cap is in the air chasing down the man who did all of this. As Coulson gets closer to the site, Cap jumps off his hover bike onto the president's car, ripping off the roof, telling him, "I would like a word with you, sir." Coulson uses his Pandemonium Cube to blast Cap back, telling him, "Of course, Captain, and that word is goodbye." Suddenly, Hyperion and Thor crash into the ground, trading blows back and forth. But Hyperion can feel something, like Thor's face is harder than his hammer. His hits are getting weaker with each swing, hurting him like he's never been hurt before. Something about Wakanda is draining Hyperion's power. But in that moment, Thor lets out his rage with a thunderous lightning strike. He takes out Mjolnir, slamming it into the chest of Hyperion. Across the field, Black Panther runs alongside Blur as he punches him, telling him he's pretty fast for a cat man, but not nearly fast enough. Black Panther digs his claw into the ground to slow himself to get behind Blur, and then with a quick swipe to the legs, Blur skids to the ground. He screams in pain, and Black Panther tells him all those ligaments in his legs have just been severed. With surgery and rigorous rehab, he might be able to walk again. Begin the healing process by staying down. Blur asks him, "Yeah? Sure, I'll get right on that, just because I'm a nothing without a pair of legs, right?" Blur begins to spin his arm, creating a tornado, asking, "I'm just a hilarious joke, right? This is my life, this is my world, Catman." Meanwhile, in the sky, Starbrand is focusing her energy into Spectrum's prism, shouting that she thought she told him to cry. As the prism begins to crumble, Dr. Spectrum curls into a ball, bawling. Starbrand tells him, "That's better. All right, who's next?" Echo struggles with the Power Princess, telling everyone that she wouldn't say no to some help. Blade focuses attention on Nighthawk, telling him that he's just a man. Don't make this worse than it has to be. Nighthawk slices through Blade's sword, telling him that he is a vampire that hunts vampires, all before the world changed, right? Blade scoffs. "Oh, so you do know the way it was supposed to be." Nighthawk kicks Blade off, leaving his Nightblade into his chest. "Of course, I'm Nighthawk. Did you not figure out why the world doesn't have any more vampires for you to hunt? Take a guess." Before Blade could say anything, Nighthawk activates the taser in his blade, electrocuting him. Back in the sky, Coulson begins to climb out, with Captain America asking if this is some sort of hellish cosmic cube, because that would explain a lot. He can tell the rest under oath, once we put the world back the way it should be. Coulson punches Cap with the cube. "I brought order, the all-American kind, to a world that languished in chaos ever since people like you showed up, Cap. The Avengers, Earth's mightiest heroes. It had to be stopped. I made a world where the heroes are more majestic than you could ever be.
Majestic.
And all it cost me was my soul. A small price to pay for a perfect world." At that moment, a fighter jet flies by, clipping Coulson in the head. And over the comms, a man shouts, asking, "Carol, what are you doing? You hit the president!" And she responds with, "Oops, did I? Man, am I embarrassed. Sure hope he's alright and can finish killing that guy." Over with Echo, Starbrand begins to pull at Power Princess's hair as she asks, "By the gods, where did you find a rabid child?" Echo tells her not sure, just met her a little while ago. But the Starbrand and the Phoenix, well, something tells me that those two go way back. Just then, both Echo and Starbrand unleash their full power. Power Princess screams. Thor swings his hammer, telling Hyperion to stop this before he's forced to kill him. And Hyperion punches back, launching him into the air. No. Blade stands back up, with Nighthawk telling him that he's beaten. But Blade tells him, "I've been hearing that my whole life." A second later, he's hit with Hyperion's atomic vision, and Nighthawk tells him, "You look like hell." Hyperion tells him that these people lay claim that the world has been changed. Is it true, Nighthawk? Does it matter, Hyperion? Does it make you want to fight for it any less? Hyperion looks down at the lifeless Power Princess. No. It doesn't. But Black Panther tells him that that is enough. They are not enough. Not here. Not while the Black Panther lives. However, as Black Panther goes in to take on both Hyperion and Nighthawk, Coulson's car begins to spin out of control, with Cap telling him not to do it. Coulson yells that it is a new and better world, and he did it. He made the greatest Earth that has ever. But before he could finish, the car crashes with Coulson still on it. Hyperion continues to fight Black Panther, telling him that he has taken lives because he knew that it was the only way to save the world. Are they saying none of it mattered? Was any of this real? Cap tells him, it was real, and I hope that you never forget it. Especially this. Before Hyperion has a chance to even understand, Cap cracks him in the face with the shield, knocking him out. Echo and Starbrand begin to burn the Pandemonium Cube, and Echo asks if she can feel it. Starbrand asks, do you mean the burning rage? Then yes. But as the Avengers begin to get back to their feet, Nighthawk gets up stating that he wants them all to remember this. How we made this world better, safer than any of you Avengers ever could. And remember that despite everything that you did to stop us, in the end, I'm still standing. Through the burning wreckage of the flying car, Coulson crawls out shouting, no! The Pandemonium Cube! I did everything I was told! Why didn't it work, Mephisto? Why have you forsaken? And after that, everyone woke up like nothing ever changed, except Blade. He knew what had just taken place, but should he actually tell everyone? Because as far as they were concerned, their biggest problem is that Starbrand is not a baby like they remember. And she made it very clear that the next person to call her one is, by her words, going to get well. With the disappearance of Coulson and the status of the Squadron Supreme unknown, the others began to wonder if the Squadron actually knew about what Coulson had even done. Perhaps they were just pawns, or at least, it sure looked like they were. But there was one who knew what happened, and Nighthawk knows that putting the world back this way was a mistake. One that he himself will correct. Meanwhile in Hell, Mephisto says that he knows what they are thinking. His minion was entrusted with his almighty Helidrome and still failed, for which he now pays the price. But this moment is about more than that. This was about bringing them together from across the red gulfs between hells. This was about showing them what can be done with the power of one Mephisto. Now imagine, my dear brothers and sisters, all that Mephisto could accomplish if we had 615 more. Hail, Mephisto! Hail, the Council of Red! And there you have it, Heroes Reborn, all of them, all of the omnibus kind of issues that came out of this, all the side issues and side stories and alternate universe stuff going on in general. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and don't forget to let me know in the comments down below what you overall thought of this series. And don't forget to check back every Monday for a compilation issue, a full story right here at Comic Story. The Justice League has problems handling things that involve mysticism and magic and the occult. So what if they were to make a Justice League Dark? Welcome to the Comic Storian channel, where I take some of your favorite trade paperbacks and single issues and I break them down into digestible bites to help you understand. Then I read them dramatically back to you. All alterations to the panel, text, and images are to prevent copyright problems, and all art is owned by its respective companies.
Don't mind that.
Today we're going to be covering the storyline Justice League Dark in our full story format. This storyline took about 2 to 3 years to fully cover here on our channel Comic Storian, and this is us grabbing all of those videos and turning it into a movie for you. So enjoy Justice League Dark that started at DC Rebirth in 2016 with Wonder Woman leading the team. With the fall of the Source Wall, many of the heroes began to notice things in the world. Things that are changing, things that were constants now becoming uncertainties. And Zatanna is about to learn just how the rules of magic are not like anything she once knew. As Zatanna performs her magical act, she reaches into her top hat stating the magical words, Tabar, Repa, Nita, and she pulls out a rabbit. As she does, she feels something wet, and she lifts the rabbit up to see that it's dead. Just then, the top hat begins to spin, and from inside of it, horrifying creatures, they begin to spring out. In the crowds, they begin to clap. Zatanna yells, no, this is not a part of the show. You need to. However, the creatures, as they reach out, they're grabbing people from their seats, dragging them into the hat. Before anyone can be pulled away, though, Diana, Wonder Woman, jumps down, smashing the hat and the creature, stating that she believes that this is why most magicians have assistants. Zatanna asks, why is she here? And Diana tells her because she hasn't returned her calls since Kalu. Zatanna then says says, well, the show isn't over yet. Rub. And as Zatanna tries to use her magic to burn the creature, it instead begins to spit fire into the crowd. Diana watches, stating, great Hera. It's turning your own spells back against you. You have to stop, Zatanna. Zatanna shudders, stating that she doesn't have any other way to get it away from these people. But rather than wires shorting out, the creatures begin to spray sparks onto the people, and Diana says that it would seem that they need a more physical approach. As Diana charges in, Zatanna notices a lighter on the ground that someone dropped when escaping. Diana grabs onto one of the tendrils, and as she grips it, it turns into ash. She asks if the magic is working again, and Zatanna, holding out her magic hat as it burns, telling her no. And as for the question after, it's still no. Diana then says why. This theory belonged to her father before he passed. He was looking for the same answers as her. Why don't they work together? Wonder Woman and Zatanna. And Zatanna tells her she doesn't understand this world, its rules, or its people. She has nothing but respect for the League, but her answer hasn't changed. Diana looks around, stating that she nearly killed an entire audience with a spell that she used to be able to control in her sleep. Magic is broken. You cannot fix it alone, Zatanna. However, as Zatanna declines Diana's invitation once again, she turns her to another place that she may be able to get answers. The Winter's Gate Manor. Just before Zatanna walks in, a voice from the shadows states that they heard that she learned a new trick with a top hat. Zatanna looks back at Constantine, lighting his cigarette, and as he exhales, he tells her that he is dying to see it. Zatanna tells him that he really is a piece of crap, and Constantine says, I never claimed to be anything else. Find anything in Zatara's theater? Zatanna tells him no, and Constantine goes on stating that her magic has gone all haywire like all the others. Another backwards word, and there's no telling what horror awaits. All you have now are your wits and your will. It's time to decide where you stand, and Zatanna tells him that she firmly stands with magic. Constantine looks at the ground stating, actually, you're on the sidewalk. And from what I understand, there's more than one option about who to take up arms with. Zatanna says that this is bigger than the Justice League, bigger than Wonder Woman understands. And as she turns away, she says that she thinks the magic users are going to lose. Constantine pulls out a cigarette, telling her, I think the things are about to change. I know I can handle myself, but can they? Meanwhile, at the Oblivion bar, somewhere just outside of reality, Diana sits with her drink, and Bobo the detective chimp asks, so, you want to buy a chimp a drink? Diana says that she doesn't understand. She's asked all of the major magical players, people that she's trusted her life with, in crisis after crisis, and one by one they have all turned her down. Bobo takes a sip from his glass, stating, maybe they don't like you. And Diana hangs her head, stating that perhaps he's right. Bobo tells her, it was a joke. You're a 10-foot-tall supermodel action superhero goddess. Plenty of people like you. I was there when all of this started to go down, and I can tell you it's a lot more complicated than it seems. I might be just an immortal, crime-solving primate with a magical bar that no one seems to come to anymore, but you work and operate in the gleaming ivory tower that literally glows. Down here in the weird shadows of the world, it's all a bit messier than that. Diana tells him, I've seen messy. But after the rise of the Tree of Wonder in Salem, magic has been out of balance. I've seen things that would make even your hair stand on end. I've connected it somehow, but I know I'm in over my head and I never once thought about turning back. Bobo tells Tracy, give me 2 more drinks, and as the glasses start to fill themselves, Tracy smiles, stating, whatever you want, Night Master. Bobo shouts, damn it, I told you not to call me that, and Diana says, why did she? But Bobo says, I wasn't going to bring it up, but Jim owned this place. He's a stalwart in the magical community. That's why we all used to drink here. He also owned the Sword of Night that made him the Night Master, defender of a magical realm outside of time called Myra. He left it all to me. Bobo takes the sword out and drops it on the bar, stating, the people of Myra weren't very thrilled to hear a talking monkey. It's a great feeling. Bobo then puts on his cap and says, how about we talk about something more pleasant, something about dead bodies? Later, down in the Hall of Justice, Bobo walks by a giant skeletal dragon, stating, sheesh, the Justice League went all out with the Magic Justice League, and it's only you? Diana tells him not exactly. Kirk the Man-Bat steps out shouting, ha, you found another. Diana says that Bobo is just assisting at the moment, same as him. And Kirk laughs, haha, yeah, once I saw this place, I knew I had to set up my lab, and I couldn't leave. Bobo whispers, asking, is that a Man-Bat to the Batman bad guy? And Diana says that Kirk is working with the government to make amends for his misdeeds. Kirk goes on stating that the bodies that they have been working with are wildly fascinating. He hasn't been able to turn away. Their genetic structure has been altered by the opposing energy. He's not sure what to call it. Dark energy, anti-energy, make sure it's truly his and call it Langstrom energy. Haha, but then again, he's already known for a trademark formula. Or 2. Meanwhile, over in Salem, Swamp Thing sits and watches the Tree of Wonder, attempting to communicate with it. And after a while, Zatanna walks behind him, stating it's hard to imagine something so beautiful could be causing so much damage. Swamp Thing tells her, it's not the cause. It's only the bridge. It's not meant to last. It was meant to be a cosmic beacon to measure the life force of our world. But now it is seeing that it can become something else. I thought I could speak to it and it would care to listen. Zatanna tells him that she's angry. She thought she could find the answers in her father's old books, some genius trick that he had up his sleeve so that she could get her magic back. And Swamp Thing then says, the tree has an answer. It told me when you asked me. It wishes to speak with you. As everything begins to fade to black, Zatanna then asks what's going on. And as a brilliant flame ignites, an image of Zatara appears over the fire, her father. He says, I'm sorry, but this is only the beginning. They are coming. This is what I've trained you for ever since you were a child. This is the end that I feared would come. The original owners of magic are returning. The old order will not be able to stand in their way. The darkness that destroyed me is only a sliver of their power. It will infect the earth with horror and burn out all living things. There is one who may be able to fight the power back, but it is far more likely that they will only hasten the end. You must find him. The other kind can see us. The upside down man is nearly here. Zatanna shouts that she doesn't understand, and then a figure asks, is it inside of her? I will eat them all and find out. Zatanna begins to scream in pain as the vision starts to become twisted and Swamp Thing calls out to her, hang on. But back underneath the Hall of Justice, Bobo examines one of the cadavers that Diana brought in while Kirk goes on explaining that these bodies are infected with some kind of extra-dimensional decay. But then there's a rumble and Bobo asks, does the dragon in the lobby snore? And Kirk says, not that I know of. Bobo then says, okay, things are about to get very bad. Just then the mouth of one of the cadavers jolts out trying to bite Bobo, and soon all of the bodies begin to get up from their examination tables. Kirk looks around stating that this shouldn't be possible. They are completely inert on a cellular level, and Bobo tells him that he's pretty sure that they are a few miles past science, Doc. Diana tells Kirk that they might need something a bit more threatening, and Kirk injects himself with a needle that he has, stating that he has a batch of the classic formula with him now. Kirk then shrieks, fully transforming into the Man-Bat, and Diana calls out to Kirk to get Bobo out of here. If she is to fail, she will fail alone. But with a loud crack of vine shooting out of the ground and a woman's voice tells her that she is not alone. They will fight this together. Diana looks back to see Zatanna and Swamp Thing asking, what are you doing here? And Zatanna goes on telling her, this is much worse than anyone thought. Magic is going to die and all of humanity is going to die with it. And one of us will bring its destruction. As Diana listens to Zatanna's words, she thinks back to just before she turned 12 and how she wondered about the great secrets of the world. One night, as she was about to learn about Themyscira's greatest secret, the 9 Cthulian witch women that walked each hunter's moon, her mother Hippolyta forbade her from asking the questions, so it was time for her to find out about those women herself. She creeped into the shadows, and what she saw she could not possibly understand. The witch women were dancing and singing 3 and 3 and 3, and as they seemed to dance, their bodies merged, their limbs contorted with every syllable in their chant, Hecate, 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 Hecate. And from the cauldron before them, a being rose, and all at once the witch women turned to see her. The being from the cauldron told the witch women to bring her to them, and Diana tried to escape, but she was captured. The being held a brand above Diana's forehead and then marked her as she screamed. Back in the current times, Diana punches through another flesh creature, telling Bobo that they're going to need something stronger. Watch her back, and Bobo swings the Sword of Night, asking, are you kidding? I barely know how to even hold this thing. The 5 continue fighting, giving Kirk the time to rip the bodies apart and Diana the room to beat it to a pulp. And as the last of them fall, Diana holds out a deep breath and then turns to Zatanna, grabbing her coat, demanding that she explain. She said that humankind stole magic and that its owners are coming back, and that one of them is going to bring an end to the world itself. Swamp Thing reaches out with his vines to stop Diana, stating, that is enough. Zatanna came here to bring you the very answers that you seek. Diana asks, I came to each of you and you rejected me. Now you wish to work together? Zatanna says that their community, magic, doesn't care much for outside meddling, but it's going to need it. She just received an apocalyptic warning from her dead father. He showed her a vision of the 5 of them and said that one of them would be the key to magic survival or its end. Diana tells her, with all due respect, the last time you tried to use magic, it tried to kill you in a room full of bystanders. I was there to save your life. Swamp Thing then says, Zatanna came to save yours. And Diana lets go, stating,
Yes,
I'm sorry,
right.
I've just been frustrated. I'm exhausted and I desperately want answers. Bobo looks up and sees Kirk sitting in the rafters asking, does anyone have a spare vial of D-man-batification on them? Or is we just gonna leave him like that? Later in Salem, the 5 make their way to the Tower of Fate, seeking the aid of Dr. Fate. Zatanna walks up to the doorless tower, shouting to Fate to let them in, and Kirk asks, so is this guy some kind of a wizard? Zatanna explains that Kent Nelson is the latest incarnation of Dr. Fate. He was given his powers by Nabu, one of the Lords of Order. With that power, he's probably the most powerful sorcerer on this level of reality. Just then a large Ankh appears, and Fate calls out, "It is rare for me to have guests that I would welcome into my home. I pray that I have the answers that you are seeking." Swamp Thing tells Zatanna, "Something feels wrong with the Tree of Wonder. The same roots that touch the cadavers emanate from within. I must investigate." As the others step into the tower, Diana says that it's good to see him again, and Fate tells her, "I'm not so sure. Magic is under assault, and I see that Zatanna has betrayed the trust of our community to seek out your help." Zatanna says that she's sorry, but the answers that they need won't come from him. They must speak with the original Lord of Order himself. They must speak with Nabu. Fate tells her, "Very well, but these subjects are too important for the ears of laymen and outsiders. Our guests will remain here." Diana and Zatanna pass through the portal, and Kirk and Bobo stand there, and Kirk says, "Well, that was rude." Back outside, Swamp Thing looks up at the Tree of Wonder and a voice asks, "Did you tell your super friends your secret yet? Or are you saving it for when they're really counting on you?" Swamp Thing tells Constantine, "I do not have time to humor you." And Constantine then says, "I was expecting you to have a longer run, honestly. Before you packed it in and joined the Parliament of the Trees. Guess I backed the wrong horse." Swamp Thing goes on stating, "I've given much of myself and my life to this world, but yet it can still find ways to horrify and disappoint me. The Green will be better served by a defender who is still rooted in this world." Constantine tells him, "You've gone and done it, haven't you? This is the price, isn't it? Make sure this tree doesn't give you much more trouble. That way you can set your roots down in the plant element retirement village with the rest of your kind." Swamp Thing sits down telling him, "You speak as if you know everything." And Constantine lights a cigarette telling him, "I know more than I should, that's for sure. Last time anything close to this happened, I knew we had someone to count on. The thing that's been killing everyone is coming here. You can feel it, right?" Swamp Thing sighs, telling him, "Of course, it's nearly here." Back inside of the tower, Diana tells Fate that they need Nabu's guidance. Please let them speak with them. They need to know how all of this horror has been set into motion. Fate says, "Before I do, I must tell you a story. It was the dawn of man, primitive and wild. Man was scientists, explorers, philosophers. They wished to put the world in order in harmony with its own elements, like Prometheus. Like Prometheus, they found a power and they dragged it into this world to do their bidding, the first magic of this world. They were the Lords of Order, the great peacemakers, the sorcerer kings. The power was unspeakable. Our bodies could not hold it, so we bound ourselves to artifacts so that we could focus and contain it, prevent it from spreading. But it was too late. The power had been caught. Magic was spreading across the world like a disease. So we taught means to guide and control the magic through tools and language. Staff, wands, rules, counterbalances, the tools of the Order. Together we wrote the first books of magic. We fooled ourselves into thinking it could benefit the world. But what do we see now? What's happening to all of these hedge witches and warlocks who have surfed an iota of the power of magic? They are finally tasting it to full. The pure primal void of possibility which instilled this world with magic. It has come to life, and it has turned its gaze upon you. It is coming." Diana says that perhaps there's a way to stop it. We must speak to Nabu. People are dying. And Fate tells her the Earth has been sick for a long time. I'm afraid it's only scarcely begun. Out in the lobby, Bobo looks around at the backwards room, stating that this place really gives him the willies. And Kurt notices a vase sitting on a stand, and on it a person who looks like he's trying to escape. Kurt picks up the vase, holding it out to Bobo, asking if he can look at it, and without realizing it, he drops it, causing it to shatter. From the broken pieces, a bright light shines, and a young man materializes and is thrown out onto the floor. He shouts that his name is Khalid. It used to be Dr. Fate. Kate Nelson hasn't been in control of the helm or the tower for weeks. It's Nabu. Nabu is the one bringing the other kind in. But before he could finish, his mouth is sewn shut, and his body breaks into pieces and is reformed into the vase on the stand. Back with Diana and Zatanna, Zatanna asks if they can feel that something feels off. And Fate says, "Yes, I feel it, and it brings me great relief. It's time for the world to rid itself of magic. That's why after all of these millennia, I opened up the door to the other kind." Diana grabs her lasso, shouting, "We aren't talking to Kent, are we? We're talking to Nabu." And Nabu tells her, "You shouldn't have meddled in our world. I have great respect for you and the League. When this is done, you will see it is just. You will feel the order of things." Zatanna runs up asking, "What did you do to Kent?" And Nabu throws her under a pillar, stating that Kent and his young protege lacked the stomach for what was necessary, just as you do. Disappointing. Your father raised you better than this. And just as a bolt of black lightning strikes the ground and everything begins to fade, Diana sees a pair of legs walking towards her. For the second time in her life, she stood frozen at the face of true horror, and she wanted to scream. The upside down man looks at the two of them asking, "Which will I eat first?" The Upside Down Man looks at them. Yes, stand back. That's appropriate. You may call me the Upside Down Man if you'd like. Or perhaps you'd rather just scream. Individual form is so tentative, isn't it?
Game fucking with me right now?
Suggesting something more. I do hope that I've arranged the limbs correctly. This is all new to me. The Upside Down Man looks around asking, where is the one who opened the door for us? The one in the shiny helmet. Did you kill him and steal his power? Diana tells him that this is not who they are. The Upside Down Man says, of course it is. Your kind is nothing but thieves and killers. We've been watching you for years. The Upside Down Man holds out his arm, and the black tendrils rise on the ground, grabbing the two of them with Zatanna, shouting, asking, what are you? And the Upside Down Man says, horror itself. You forgot to fear the darkness. We are here to remind you of us. Just then, something cuts down into the Upside Down Man, and Kurt, holding Bobo, fly through, with Bobo stating, I'll pass on that. As the Upside Down Man's body reforms itself, he laughs, telling Bobo, you've seen so much! You held the knowledge of creation in that tiny skull of yours! Bobo is picked up by one of his legs, by the tendrils, stating, 3 feet 8 inches, proud, you weird thing. Also, we should kill this thing before it talks to me again. But the Upside Down Man holds his hands together, stating, you cannot kill a horror, little one. And Bobo's body begins to liquefy. His body spreads out onto the floor like a giant puddle, with Kirk running over, holding the vase with Khalid, scooping Bobo up into it, stating, I can fix you. Science! Science can fix you! Diana shouts for him to get back, but as a portal opens up, sucking them all out, a large pair of red eyes looks through and a voice shouts, enough! Swamp Thing stands over the tower stating, I will not let you hurt the world like this. The Upside Down Man says, let me! An odd expression, and as soon as the Upside Down Man touches Swamp Thing's leg, his entire body begins to decay and a wither. As Swamp Thing's massive body crashes down, Diana jumps past Constantine, telling him to get away. And Constantine tells her, sorry love, but this thing just battered away an elemental guardian. Met a demon in the wrong end of Prague a few weeks ago. Told me that he had a sigil that could kill a god. But he wasn't very good at cards, was he? Constantine begins to create the demon sigil, and as Zatanna watches, she shouts, you're going to kill yourself! Your body can't handle that level of magic! Constantine falls deeper into his sigil, and Zatanna calls out to him that he needs to let go, and as the explosion goes off, the light of the sigil fades, and Constantine falls to the ground, telling Zatanna, if you could, grab my smokes, they're in my jacket pocket. Zatanna runs over asking, how stupid was that? You had no control over that kind of spell, even with your demon blood. The Upside Down Man walks up stating, you are but children. Would you attempt to throw a bucket of ocean water into a tsunami? There's no hope for you. You stole from us and now you will be punished. You and your entire world. The Upside Down Man holds out his hand, lifting Constantine into the air, stating, you have some magical blood, don't you? Let's see how you fare without it. He claps, and at that very moment, the demon blood inside of Constantine begins to separate itself from his body, ripping itself out of his very pores. Zatanna yells, oh yeah, yawa! And the Upside Down Man looks back smiling, oh, you're just as tedious as your father. We enjoyed playing with him all of those years ago, taking him apart and putting him back together. Elias, I am, he shouts over and over. Despair begins to come over Zatanna. The Upside Down Man opens his mouth, stating, you can join me if you wish. As a blast of energy leaves the Upside Down Man's mouth, Diana runs in, blocking it with her shield, shouting, no! The Upside Down Man stares at Diana and he says, curious, what kind of creature are you? Diana tells him that she is Diana, Princess of Themyscira, daughter of Zeus, this world's protector, and I will not let you harm another soul. The Upside Down Man holds out his arm and he pulls back as if he's going to pull off the blanket of reality, stating, that's not what I mean. I don't care who you are. I just want to know what you are. There's something strange inside of you, something that I do not understand. The Upside Down Man then touches her forehead, stating, this is the font of power, and it's foreign, but I can turn it on. Suddenly, light shines from Diana as she screams, and the mark from where she was branded appears. She falls to her knees as her hair turns white, asking, what is this? And Zatanna says that she isn't sure, but whatever it is hurting the Upside Down Man. Diana shouts, I don't understand what's happening. It's as if my veins are filled with a burning light. I feel so much power. I have never felt this before. Zatanna takes her hand, stating that she must clear her mind, focus her intent. What does she want? Diana says that she wants these creatures to go back from where they came, and Zatanna tells her, good, now hold that thought and repeat after me. I shenab yamau mufia. The Upside Down Man begins to yell no, and soon after, Diana repeats the words that Zatanna told her. The loud explosion goes off, lighting the entire sky, and with it, everything reverts to how it was. Constantine begins to sit up, and Bobo is restored to his original form, and the green returns to Swamp Thing. The Upside Down Man tells them, "You've only delayed the inevitable, but I must say, this has made it far more interesting. Soon the light will begin to fade, and along with it, the Upside Down Man." As Diana falls to the ground, Zatanna runs over stating that she's out cold. The mark on her forehead has faded away. Bobo asks, "So, did we win?" Zatanna tells him the most powerful sorcerer in existence just sold out their world to a predatory entity made of pure magic. The only thing that looks like it can stop it is a desecratingly powerful light trapped inside of our friend's head. A power that she has never seen nor felt in all of her years of study. So no, Bobo, I'm afraid this is only the beginning. For the Amazons of Themyscira, they would often feel something pulling on their hearts as the moonlit shadows grew each night. It was something that they could not explain, like some cosmic thing that was warning them that there is something to fear in the dark. Many years ago, the young Diana felt just that, but instead of pulling the covers over her face, she went out. What she found was something so horrible that she couldn't comprehend it. She wanted to scream, but no sounds left her lips, only a hoarse, rasping voice. She wished that she could unsee what was just seen, but it was too late. The witching hour was upon us. As the mangled bodies of the witches of Hecate chased her, they pinned her down so that the witch goddess herself could do what she wanted, and Diana could feel the arcane energy of the branding iron getting close to her, and she screamed as it was pushed down on her forehead. When it was all done, she ran to her mother's bedside to tell her everything that she could remember, and the queen wasted no time bringing her tormentors to the palace. The witches said that it is true that they serve Hecate, the triple goddess of witchcraft, and each month they walk to the old crossroads in the forest to perform their rites to their patron. There are secrets in those rites, but no menace. In all of their years, they've never witnessed such horrors like the ones that the princess speaks of. They hope that their patron hears their prayers, but she has always been with them in spirit, not body. When they found the young princess asleep in a tree above their ceremony, they thought it best to return her to her bed without waking her. As Diana reached womanhood, they would be glad to teach her anything she wishes to know of their ways. They only need to call upon them. Hippolyta looks at her daughter and asks if that satisfies her, and Diana laughs, stating it does. She's terribly sorry for the trouble that she has caused them. From that night on, she would sleep soundly, but once Diana was taken away, Hippolyta shouted and demanded, asking, what have they done with her daughter? The witches tell her that they would never, but Hippolyta shouts that she heard their bedtime story, and she appreciates them comforting Diana, but she will not ask again. Their queen commands them to speak. In unison, the three witches become calm, and the triple goddess Hecate herself appears. She whispers quietly, "You will forget all of this," into Hippolyta's ear, and the three witches quickly fall to their knees, bowing, stating that she has come. They called for her under many moons and feared their offerings were not enough to please her. Her eyes glow purple, and she smiles, telling them they were not. The witches begin to feel something inside of them, and as their bodies turn to sand, she tells them that her time draws closer, and soon she will call upon her true children, her witch mart. At long last, the world will feel her fury. As lightning strikes over the Hall of Justice, in the current day, Diana tells the League that the magic as they know it has been destroyed, and the foe that they faced, well, show them, Zatanna. Zatanna places her hands on the table, stating that it isn't safe for her to use the usual brand of magic, so forgive her that her rune work is a little bit rusty. As she begins to draw her rune, a bright light shines from it as the projection of the Upside Down Man appears, and Diana says that the Upside Down Man is the tip of the spear, a singular being in a race of cosmic horrors known as the Other Kind. He was able to destroy Swamp Thing with a mere gesture. He turned Detective Chimp into a puddle of flesh, and he effortlessly ripped the demon blood out of John Constantine's body. They managed to save their friends and drive the creature back, but the Other Kind's powers seem to be unlimited. Batman then asks, what about the magical heavy hitters? We should call Jason Blood and... Zatanna stops him, stating that Jason Blood and the others of the magical community have swore off helping the Justice League. They wish to solve this problem themselves. Superman then asks, what of Dr. Fate? Why isn't he helping your cause? And Diana explains that Dr. Fate is the one who guided the creatures here. Kent Nelson is trapped within the helmet, and Nabu is tired of the chaos caused by magic, and he seeks to end it. Dr. Fate is the other threat that they wanted to speak of, mainly because he tried to feed them to the upside-down man. Superman pauses for a moment and asks, "You managed to fight this creature back?" And Diana tells him yes. So then he stares at Diana asking, how? She thinks back to the power that she unleashed, and she says that they were just lucky. They can't rely on that happening again. She'll work with her team to develop the next steps and report back. Martian Manhunter tells her that they have their thanks. If they could, they would like Zatanna to stay for a moment. As Diana gets ready to set foot in the door, she looks back and Zatanna tells them, sure. Once she leaves, Zatanna tells Batman that she really wishes they hadn't done that. Diana still hasn't forgiven her for siding with the magical community at the beginning of all of this. And Batman says that he has seen Diana stare down gods and battle horrors. He's never seen her like this before. Something about this threat is under her skin. We've known each other for a long time, and I know that there's something that you're not telling me, but I need to know. Are you up for this? Zatanna tells him that she hopes so. She really, really hopes so. And as she leaves, Batman looks back at everyone and says, okay. Who else is concerned? As Zatanna catches up to Diana, she asks when exactly did she decide to not tell them about the unknown, the unspeakable, the powerful source of magic trapped within her head. Diana looks at her own reflection in a mirror. And she says that until they understand what the mark is, she's not going to concern the League. She also doesn't want them to rely on something inside of her that she cannot control. This mark, she can recall an echo of a nightmare from when she was a child, but how is that possible? As the two leave, Hecate's face appears in the mirror, and she turns towards the doorway leading to the Justice League meeting room. Inside, Flash says, okay, I for one am scared out of my mind. I'm not gonna get sleep for like a week. And Hawkgirl says that she can't think of a single lifetime that she has ever liked magic. It's always the end of the world and horrible monsters. But just then Hecate appears, and she whispers into everyone's ears, you will forget all of this. As she fades, Martian Manhunter says, yes, where were we? Ted Cord has registered another complaint. Meanwhile, over at the Oblivion Bar, the witches of the Sisterhood of the Sleight of Hand gather around for a night of fun and laughter. The girls meet up every so often to encourage one another, even the ones who know only the minor crafts. But tonight, the air is thick with power, and even Constantine, who knows why he's here, feels it. Then Rebecca Carstairs, the one known as Witchfire, walks in. Once everyone has their drinks in their hand, Tracy 13 calls out to everyone. All right, I call this meeting of the Midnight Society to order. For those who know me and those who don't, my name is Tracy 13, and in these troubled times, I am your sister. We're going to have an invocation tonight and to find protection against the threat looming over magic kind, so please take each other's hands. Just then, Witchfire feels something as she sees something from her childhood. A brand. She drops her glass and her skin turns white, and Hecate's brand appears on her forehead, and she tells everyone to run. Please run. Through her body, Hecate speaks, telling them that they invoke her name and her power, yet they waste it on idle fantasy. They have forgotten the triple goddess that they serve. The world of magic will has failed me, and I will burn it out and create something new in its place. I have no use for you. Witchfire's body ignites, spreading fire throughout the entire Oblivion Bar. Some witches manage to escape, but others are not so fortunate. But meanwhile, down on the Hall of Justice, Diana gathers her team, stating that they need to find answers and Thas. Take the opportunity that they have before the other can break through but just then a voice calls out to Diana, whispering to her, remember. Diana struggles, stating no, and then images of her childhood flash before her eyes, and the brand begins to shine. Just as before, white hair and white skin, Diana says that she can feel her. Zatanna runs over, telling her to just remain calm. She has powered through this before. She can do it again. Hecate then appears above everyone and tells Zatanna that no, she cannot. Detective Chimp points up, asking, anyone else see that there? Or is my drink much stronger than it tasted? Hecate stares at Zatanna, asking, do you know who I am? And Zatanna kneels down, stating yes, she is Hecate, the goddess of magic. Her father taught her to pay homage to her. Hecate says, I rather liked your father, but he was short-sighted. All of your kind is. Bobo runs over to the computer to try and contact the League, but Hecate pulls him back, stating, no one will hear you now. The mundane world will be blind to my magic until my work is done. Bobo calls out to Zatanna to hurry up and get them out of here, and Zatanna tells him that her magic is dangerous. If she speaks, she could free the other kind. So Bobo shouts, how come one magic person on our team can't do freaking magic? All right, okay, thinking. Swampy, get us in the closet now. Swamp Thing uses his husks to slow down Hecate, and he grabs everyone and he runs over to the closet door. Hecate tells Diana that she is witch-marked. Her power is laying safe, hidden within her since childhood, and and she needs it back. Everyone crashes through the closet door, with Zatanna asking, "You put a door in your bar to the Hall of Justice?" Bobo tips his hat, stating, "It seemed like a good idea at the time, and clearly it was. Just try the door!" Swamp Thing crushes it with his vines, and Kirk Langston sighs, stating, "I could go for a beer right now." He opens up the cellar door and he looks out, stating, "Oh no, no, no." The charred bodies of the Sisterhood of the Sleight Hand Witches lay scattered, with Constantine sitting in the bar. Zatanna asks if it's him, and he looks back, getting up and kisses her. She pulls herself back, asking, "Why did you do that?" And Constantine tells her, "Isn't it obvious, love? Look around. This is my last chance. The witching hour has begun. We're all about to die." Later, out on the waters, Bobo tells everyone, "We're all coming up to the island. Brace yourselves. There's no telling how weird things are going to get," says the talking chimp driving a boat full of monsters. Swamp Thing looks down at the knocked out unicorn, asking, "Do we really need to offer this to her? What is she going to do to the poor thing?" Kirk tells him, "I'm pretty sure none of us want to know the answer to that one." And Diana sits in the front of the boat as they approach Athea, watching as they get closer. Zatanna tells everyone that they need to be careful with how they go about this. There's no telling what you-know-who is going to throw at them. Hell, there's a good chance that she already knows and she's waiting to spring a trap. Zatanna heads to the front, telling the same thing to Diana, but Diana jumps over the edge, swimming to the shore, stating, "The time for waiting has passed. No matter what horrors lie on this island, they must face them if they are to have any hope." Zatanna calls out for her to wait. "Don't say it, don't say her!" But without listening, Diana says it. Cersei. The clouds in the sky begin to swirl, and there's a loud rack-a-ka-boom as lightning strikes down. And suddenly everyone begins to change into animals, including Bobo. Cersei appears shouting, you dare face me in my place of power. With a single gesture, I could have my companions feasting on your fetid meat on the jagged rock face. I welcome whatever madness drove you to my domain. Have you anything to say for yourself, idiot child?" Diana raises up her tiara, showing the Witchmark brand. She says, "Cersei, we need help." Cersei looks at it and says, "No, the Witchmark of Hecate, you've been marked." She quickly reverts her spells and changes to normal clothes, stating, "You'll have to forgive me for the theatrics. I'm a few thousand years old, and I do enjoy playing with the heroes quite a bit. Silly outfits, the punching, it all keeps things from getting tedious. But this is no time for such things. The witching hour has begun."
One?
She hugs Diana and says that she is so sorry. It's going to get much worse from here. Over in New Mexico, Hecate's call reaches another child, Manitow Dawn. Hecate told her where she needed to go, and without saying a word, Manitow leaped into the air. Back on the island, Cersei welcomes everyone into her home, and Bobo looks at the glass, with Cersei telling him that wine is from California. She did not touch it. However, she can't get over the fact that they brought her an actual unicorn. What on earth is she going to do with an actual unicorn? She realized that's what she makes her billionaire clients do to prove that they're worth her time, right? Diana folds her arms, stating that this is all far from the point. "We appreciate your hospitality, but we've come seeking information. This is not a time for a drink or revelry. We need to understand what we are facing. We need to know what this mark on my forehead is, and what Hecate hopes to accomplish. Hecate is her patron." Cersei tells her patron isn't the word that she would use. The relationship has always been far darker than that. Allow her to try and explain. "Before the gods first walked the earth, before all of the pantheons of the cultures of the world, there was Hecate. She was the primal woman incarnate, maidenhood to motherhood, to crone, birth, creation, death, all of it. Her symbol was the full moon, the symbol of mankind's great collective unconsciousness. She represented nature itself and the potential of nature. They would come to call her the triple goddess of magic, the witch mother. In the early days of man, when she still consorted with an open heart and mind, they were the first magicians attempting to steal the only power within her. To protect her countless power from the growing darkness, she broke it into 5 pieces and hid it within 5 young women until the hour came that she could take that power back. As those women lived and died, she would rehouse it, never taking the power back into herself. And since the early days of man, there have always been 5 of the witch-marked. Few have ever understood the power hidden within themselves, and fewer still have ever wielded that power. The power itself is corrosive. It's too much for the human soul to bear. Should they activate it, she would be capable of controlling her witch-marked like puppets. Good. Understand this, as each of her witch-marks activates, she will grow more powerful.
What's your plan?
For centuries, she hated what magic has become on this world. And from what you have told me about the other kind and the upside-down man, she fears that time has come. She will burn out the hearts of magic and replace them with her own power. If she succeeds, she will control all of magic like she can control her witch-marked and prevent the other kind from ever crossing over. Understand this too. Hecate may have once represented something light in the world, but she has become a twisted force of hate. With all of the power that I wield, I am nothing in the face of what Hecate is capable of. There is no power in the world that could stop her.
See,
Diana
where
asks,
am
what
I?
about if her
Holy
own
crap,
power was
how did I
used
get up
against
so
her? When
high?
the Upside Down Man activated her mark, she had some control over it. Perhaps her magic could do the same. Cersei thinks about it and says that is a very interesting question. It could work. Zatanna slams her hands on the table shouting, how could you even consider this? Batman was right. Maybe you aren't up for this. Diana stands up yelling that is enough. There is a power inside of her capable of ripping this world apart, and their enemies wish to use her for that. If there is any way that she can control it, then by the fate she will do it. Diana turns to Cersei and asks, could you activate the mark in such a way that it would shield me from Hecate's control? There must be something that can be done. Cersei tells her, yeah, she can whip up something, and Zatanna yells for Diana to just stop and listen to yourself. Diana waves her off, stating that she is done listening, and Cersei begins to cast her magic, telling Diana that this is going to sting just a bit. But before the spell could go off, Deadman phases through the ceiling shouting, finally! There you idiots are! By the way, do you know that there's a really nervous unicorn running around upstairs? Constantine looks at Deadman asking, what's wrong? And Deadman explains, the Ramakrishna has sent me to get help. Heard that there's a new Justice League Dark or something. Right now, Nanda Parbat is burning down, and if we don't stop Manitau Dawn, she'll tear it down. Manitau is wielding a power that I've never seen before. Everything that we throw at it just bounces off. This is some kind of magic hooey that makes me feel like I'm still some hick carny out of my depth. Bobo says, well, unfortunately, we're all getting pretty used to that feeling about this point. Deadman then goes on telling him, yeah, well, I'm all ears. Something has to be done. Diana calls out to him stating, don't worry, there is. And she steps forward with her witch mark activated and Cersei smiling. Diana then turns away from the others with a flick of her wrist. A hole into reality opens up, taking them all from one end of the world to the other. This is what terrified Zatanna the most. So much power wielded without a thought, and every magician knows that with all great magic comes a great cost. Everyone begins to step through the portal, but Zatanna, she walks in with caution. Seconds later, the others find themselves standing at the foot of Nanda Parbat, just in time to watch it burn, and at the very top, Manitau is reaching into the ancient stone walkways, ripping them apart, laying waste to everything in sight. The dead men, Nanda Parbat's last line of defense, have separated from their hosts, and they are piled into Manitau to try and stop her, but with a simple get out, all of the dead men are expelled. As Manitau finishes, she looks back at the temple, and Ramakrishna looks at Hecate and asks, why do you seek destruction? I have guarded the boundary of life and death for generations. I have never meddled in your affairs. Hecate rises up stating, yes, and you've done a poor work of it. Humankind sits at the precipice of destruction and magic, and it has become a liability. I will burn it all and replace it with something better. Hecate then points to Ramakrishna, telling Manitau to show her their power. Manitau then gathers her strength and releases a powerful blast of energy aimed right at Ramakrishna. At the last second, a pair of stone arms go up, protecting Ramakrishna, and as they crumble away, Diana walks through, calling out to Hecate. Hecate sees her and tells her, you dare and try to use my power against me. Diana calls out to her, I did not call for this gift. However, I will use whatever weapon the gods have willed upon me. As the two get ready for their battle, Deadman flies up telling Ramakrishna that they have to get her out of here, and she asks what of their home. Deadman says, this place, it's just brick and mortar. The rest is a metaphor. We can get that crap anywhere. Ramakrishna tells him that she's not sure, and Deadman says, you gave me a second chance, now allow me to help you. I've been at this game for a long time. All we need is a corporeal form, and we can get you out of here. Ramakrishna looks at the monk host for her dead men, stating, these will do for now. As Zatanna and the others help the monks up, Constantine asks, how much you want to bet the entire structural integrity of this place is about to fall? Swamp Thing jumps over the ledge as his vines spread out, and he says, I can bind it for now, just allow me a moment. Deadman then tells Zatanna that they need to figure out a way to get out of here, and Boba says, I might be able to help with that. If I remember how to use this damn sword. Ramakrishna says that is the sword of night, and he is the Night Master. And Bobo tells her, yeah, sure, something like that. And he swings the sword. A portal begins to open up, and Zatanna tells everyone to hurry up and get through it. Diana will kill us if any of us get incinerated by her crossfire. As everyone begins to pass through, Deadman says that he really goes to hell.
Prometheus, if you're wanting to like watch all the stuff that's gonna lead up to Romulus, I would watch Prometheus, Alien Covenant. I wouldn't say it's a good movie, but there's a lot of stuff that's going to bridge the stuff between Prometheus to Romulus. The only thing that relates directly to Romulus without spoiling anything, though, that like kicks off the movie is from the first Alien movie. So I'll say that. Nothing directly to do with like Ripley or anything, but yeah, I would say Prometheus, Covenant, Alien. It's an older one, but and then Romulus. If I were you, personally. Oh, look at that, all healed up. What you watching on Netflix there, Bravo? Yeah, and I like I like Prometheus a lot too. So, but I kind of agree with the general consensus of Romulus being the third best one. I can agree with that pretty easily. Am I going to heal myself?
He's doing. And Zatanna tells him, yeah.
Yeah, Bravo, what are you watching?
Deadman then
Don't hog it all for yourself.
I'm saying that just because it's damn clear that she has no freaking idea what she's doing with that power. And Zatanna
Friend and I have been watching Lucifer
back in the
on
center
Netflix.
Of the city, Diana flies around fighting back.
If you ever liked the show Smallville, you might like Lucifer.
Asking, can you feel it yet? Other things are happening. The Swamp Thing pauses for a moment and then shouts,
I'd say it's
no,
way better
you
written,
can't do
but
this.
it's got,
Elsewhere,
like,
before the
I
Parliament
don't know,
of the
that same
trees,
cheese
Black
wave.
Orchid stands before them, having her witch mark activated. Diana yells to Hecate, asking,
oh yeah,
what have
you know,
done?
I think I watched the
Hecate
first
tells her,
season of that.
I carried a piece of
it was
your
just,
soul. You and your sisters
it was,
have
I mean,
a
it's,
brave new world.
I don't know, it's not like the original was the most genius writing ever, but
Hecate shouts in pain.
I don't know, I just thought it was forgettable,
that she has had enough of
that
these
90s
games.
show.
She will not wield her power against her. You are witch smart and you will obey. Hecate hits Diana with a blast from her eye, sending Diana bouncing across the stone floor. As Zatanna rushes over, shouting to Diana, asking if she's okay, Hecate tells her, Diana is more than okay. She is what she is meant to be. Constantine sighs, oh, bloody hell. And Diana stands back up with Hecate telling her, kill them. And Diana says, yes, witch mother. But truth be told, Diana blinks her eyes, waking up in a pretty crazy place, void of all color. She gasps as she is lifting herself out of the puddles that she is laying in, and a voice tells her that they were wondering when she would get up. Diana asks who, and the woman flicks her lighter, and she says that she's no one really, at least not anymore. As Witchfire lights her cigarette, Diana asks how. They were told that she died with the Sisterhood of the Slight Hand, and Witchfire tells her, that's a much nicer way to say you burned all those nice girls. Diana gets up stating that she was fighting Manitou at Nanda Parbat, and then there was Black Orchid. What's going on? Witchfire says that this is where Hecate keeps them. The parts of their minds that she doesn't want getting away. Those two, though, they're still grounded, still caught up there in all the action. Diana then asks, what is this place? And Witchfire points up, stating that she should recognize the view. Diana turns and looks up and sees the earth and says, great Hera. And Witchfire laughs, telling her that she wouldn't recommend invoking a goddess of the Greek pantheon here. This one isn't the real moon, not the literal ball of rock that you and your friends in the Justice League blew up. Think of this place as a metaphor representing the moon. Diana yells that there must be a way out of this place, and Witchfire shrugs, stating that I'm dead. I'm not going anywhere, and neither are you. Them mortals don't really stand any chance, but perhaps a demigod could cause some problems, which is why we're here in the collective unconsciousness. Just then, Diana falls to her knees, asking why does she suddenly feel so weak? And Witchfire says that it's probably her body doing whatever Hecate is needing it to do. And back in the real world, Diana is continuing her rampage, with Constantine lighting up, asking, can you feel it? The rules of magic are being changed right beneath our feet. Hecate is rewriting them in her own language, and Diana is little more than just a pen. There's a pub around the corner where I grew up. Always imagined that that's where I would go if any real apocalypse hit. Get a little drunk while the world falls apart. Zatanna smacks the back of Constantine's head, telling him, just shut up. I have enough to worry about without your self-loathing crap. You're John freaking Constantine. You've given the finger to the devil himself. Stop acting like you can't do this. I just need the clever jackass that I know you are. Constantine begins to cough, and as he pulls the handkerchief away, there's a small amount of blood, and Constantine says, there's something we need to talk about, love. I went to the doctor the other day, and it wasn't looking good. Not Not sure if it was the demon blood keeping me stitched up or maybe the upside down man left me a little surprised. But this is not the kind of cancer you can do much to fight. Why do you think I was here in the bar when it burned inside out? Everything that made me halfway useful was tied to that blood. You want John freaking Constantine? Well, he's not here. Just another back alley exorcist with a bloody cough. Zatanna smiles, stating, actually, it's funny you mentioned that. I have a friend who could use an exorcism right about now. Constantine laughs. Bugger me, you're right. It has no chance of working, but it's better than a pint and a song. Meanwhile, over at the Oblivion bar, everyone stumbles out of the portal, and Ramakushna shouts that she can feel it. The green, it is screaming. Kirk looks at Bobo and asks, maybe we shouldn't have come here. What is this place that you mentioned, Myra? And Bobo says, yeah, it's not a good idea.
Bounce.
These folks aren't big fans of me. Don't think that they would let me bring in a magical ward to their doorstep. Anyway, since this whole thing is terrifying and all, who else needs a drink? Just then a voice shouts, there will be no revelry. The Witch Mother has commanded your lives to end in Manitow Dawn.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Manitow follows everyone through the portal, and as she crosses a black shadow, reaches out grabbing
I would climb that
She
tower.
struggles, asking what are these shadows, and a voice from the shadows tell her that they are from the shadow dimension, a hellscape devoid of light. It also happens to be the place where the most powerful of them can escape when she massacred their friends. Tracy 13 shouts that this is the Sisterhood of the Sleight Hand, and she really hopes this hurts. Back in Nanda Parbat, Zatanna runs up to Diana, calling out to her, telling her, please, listen. I know there's still good inside of you. Diana turns back and stares, and Zatanna tells her that she knows that she's scared, that she's being forced to do all of this, but Wonder Woman, the Wonder Woman beneath the witch mark is stronger. Through Diana, Hecate speaks and tells her, Zatanna, you are nothing more than a cheap stage magician and fool. Diana cannot hear you through the tempest of my power. You do not deserve to live. Zatanna laughs, telling her, I figured that there would be something like that you would say. Tempest of power or not, even a cheap magician knows that sleight of hand isn't about what you're looking at. It's about what you have missed. Suddenly, Hecate's powers begin to separate from Diana, and Hecate shouts that she can't move. Constantine says, it's a nice thing about a simple spell that scales easily. Tap a binding spell into the raw energy of a dying heart of magic, and you got yourself a party. Now then, Hecate, triple goddess, moonborn, queen of magic, release these women. The magic of Earth compels you. Diana begins to scream, and shortly afterwards, Black Orchid and Manitow begin to follow, and Diana says that she can feel it, the power. And back in the collective unconsciousness, Diana screams in pain there as well, with Witchfire sighing, stating those idiots. Diana rolls around screaming in pain, stating that it is excruciating. And what's more, Black Orchid and Manitow begin to scream until their bodies fade out of this place. Witchfire says they did it. They actually freed them. She hurries over to Diana, asking if she can hear her. Can she still feel the pain? And Diana groans, stating no. It's like burning flesh. For a moment, she was back, and she was looking through her own eyes, and then they started to burn with a powerful light. And as Diana's color fades, Witchfire picks her up and says, okay, you're gonna have to brace yourself for this. Your friends just tried to sever the connection between you and Hecate, but they didn't measure it right. Black Orchid and Manitow, they broke free. Then all the power raced into your body. We were talking about a universal level of magical power. More than any living host has ever carried. More than any host is capable of carrying. Diana asks, what is she saying? And Witchfire says, you may have just died. But as Diana comes to the startling revelation that she may not survive this,
right.
Swamp Thing makes his way to the burning of the Parliament of Trees to stop Black Orchid.
Don't
as
scare
the
me,
vines tighten
video
around her
game.
throat, Black Orchid screams to please stop hurting her. It wasn't her. Hecate was using her. Swamp Thing yells, the green has been mortally wounded and the Parliament of Trees is gone. Black Orchid tells him she didn't want any of this. She didn't mean any of this. And the vines grip harder, and Swamp Thing tells her, it doesn't matter. The green will die because of you. Just then a voice calls out to Swamp Thing, telling him no. The green will not fade. It will change and adapt to something new and worthy of this world. A beautiful new garden paradise will spring forth from these woods and remind the world of nature's might. This is the will of their mistress, Hecate. But for the Parliament of Flowers to grow, the old must be pruned away. Back at the Oblivion bar, Manitow begins to wake up, asking if they can hear her now. Bobo tells her, it depends. Are you gonna try and kill us again? If not, then yeah, we can hear you. How is it you managed to escape Hecate's grasp? Manitow tells him that it is not she who broke free, but something broke her free. The actions of her friends at Nanda Parbat changed the game for a moment. However, it didn't happen soon enough. Magic is already changing hands, and it belongs to her now. Kirk runs over to the doorway, and as he opens it, he sees a brick wall
let's go check out the electronics
Manitow
store.
goes on stating that if Black Orchid was released as
We
well,
have
then
to go-
both their powers, 2/5 of it, output will flow into the next active host. That body will bear the power until it burns out, and the power will at last return to Hecate. Back in Nanda Parbat, Zatanna and Constantine watches as Hecate's power surges through Diana, and Zatanna then asks, "That didn't go our way, did it?" Constantine tells her that he's going to take a guess that Diana is more powerful than any god that has ever walked the earth. She could blink us out of existence if she wanted. She calls back to Hecate asking, "What shall I do against those who stood against us?" And Hecate tells her to leave them be. They will learn the new meaning of death shortly. Just then, Zatanna and Constantine feel a rumble in the ground as a giant temple shoots out of the ground, destroying the surrounding buildings. A large winged specter appears before the two of them, telling them that they stand at the gates of the great necropolis, and they will be brought to their graves shortly. But in the collective unconsciousness, Witchfire looks up at the pale earth, stating that it's almost beautiful in a horrible kind of way. They have front row seats to watch the death of the magic as they know it. Diana looks at the lake where Black Orchid and Manitou were and says that if those two were severed from the witch mark, there must be something down there. You said before that this place was a metaphor, the subconscious of the magic of Hecate herself. Perhaps we could go deeper? Diana then runs diving into the lakes and she begins to swim it down, and she swims for hours, even days, until she hits something. She touches the glass, beating on it, hoping for an answer, and then nothingness. And then from the nothingness, a figure appears, pulling her through. She climbs out, telling the woman, "Thank you, but what is this place? Who are you?" And the woman tells her, "You already know the answer to that. My name is Hecate, and you must listen carefully if you're going to survive." But back in the real world, the other heroes try to fight back Hecate's forces when suddenly all three groups notice a doorway appear before them. They run through the portal, and as everyone arrives on the island of Circe, she tells them that they sure did make a mess of things, didn't they? Zatanna tells her how could she have, but Circe stops her, telling her, "Look, we don't have much time. We don't trust each other, and you think it was foolish to have Diana use Hecate's power. The point is we were already losing. Hecate replaced two core pillars of magic with her own power. Life and death now belong to her. Nature belongs to her. And if she knocks out a third pillar, the system will fall apart completely."
Oh my god, I can't believe that's what killed me.
Of gods, a dimensional home of all spiritual and godly energy in the multiverse. If she takes hold there, the magic that holds each of us together will die. And that includes all of you. Best case scenario will be rewritten with her hate-twisted magic. Bobo shouts, asking, "What do you want from us? Give us something and we can make a stand. There are thousands of gates to the spheres of gods." Circe says, "Come on, I thought you were supposed to be a detective. Think of the mythology at play here. Where do you think we should go?" Elsewhere, Diana walks ever closer to her target. And when she can't walk, she climbs, and she climbs to the highest point at the highest summit.
I don't know why.
As she rests her feet, she begins to open up the gateway to the abandoned city of Olympus. Back in the collective unconsciousness, though, the Maiden of Hecate says that she must be brief, as there is a lot to understand. In the beginning, there was magic. It was raw, rich, burgeoning light of possibility surrounded by the still-forming multiverse. Eons later, some would call the domain the sphere of gods, but the story begins long before the gods. Through the dreams of the first beings, there was light, and from that incredible light, the first being shaped herself out of the cosmos. The young girl sensed that she wasn't alone in the dark, and beneath the sphere of gods, there was a darker, other place. As she formed from that light, he formed from the darkness, the upside down, staring up at her. To put the horrible creatures out of her mind, she began to visit Earth to watch humanity grow. And she would give them touches of her magic to delight and astound them with the possibilities of the world around them. As humanity grew, the girl was given a name, which meant far off in primitive tongue, as they believed she lived in the moon above, and they called her Hecate. Humanity began to grow, and with it, beliefs followed. Pantheons were made, each having their own mysteries and power. And each pantheon tried to win over her favor, each believing that they were a subsidiary to her stories. Hecate allowed this because it amused her so. As time passed, Hecate could feel herself changing, and she felt a responsibility to the new forms of magic and belief. Thus, the aspect of the maiden gave way to the aspect of the mother. There were many offers in the pantheons
what
to try
comics
and
are you
woo
looking
her,
for
and
in
ultimately
particular?
she agreed to take
Or you
the
just
hand
window
of the Greek
shopping?
god Hades. The gods of Olympus welcomed her as one of their own. Even the mighty Zeus recognized that her power power surpassed even his own. She would be Hecate, the goddess of magic. But in her generosity, mankind noticed the immense power that she wielded and sorted it out for their own. They would mimic the incantations that they had witnessed from her followers, capturing her. And every day she would pray to her fiancé and her adopted pantheon to come and save her. One day, Hades came to her with a simple message. He had found a new bride. The gods of Olympus had made a decision and she was no longer welcome at their gates. She screamed, and the screams felt what she had not felt in an eternity. The dark, upside-down mirror of her own great power, rolling, toxic, and dangerous, full of hate. She called 4 magicians, giving them what they wanted, a dark magic that would rip the world apart, and she gifted them with nothing but malice and hatred from her heart. The
I've been really wanting to collect the old Venom comics.
The righteous
I used to have the whole
Once free, she let the gods
Lethal
know
Protector
of her fury,
series,
reminding
and,
them of her rightful place in the
was it?
cosmos.
The
And if
Life
they
I think
dared
that was part of the
cross her
Life
again,
Foundation
she
run.
would turn it against them and end them. But still, only trusting herself, she broke her power into 5 points and hid them within 5 young girls in whom
I really
got
gotta take the time and just read some comics for myself. I do way too much of,
ultimately, the
comic story and the comics explained.
goddess was born. Diana listed stating that she thinks
Miss the
she
nuance of
understands,
stuff.
but the aspects of the maiden and the mother tell her understand is not enough. Surviving what's to come will take sacrifice. Back on Circe's island, she tells everyone to look, no point in dancing around this thing. There's only one path to take, and they're going to have to kill Wonder Woman. Zatanna shouts that she can't be serious, and Circe says that it's Wonder Woman or magic. If you pick Wonder Woman, we are all going to die, even Diana. She sighs, telling herself, I can't believe that I'm the one making the plea for the greater good here. And she begins to cast her magic, telling everyone that they know what they have to do. The right killing blow to Diana will set off a reaction equal to an atomic bomb in magic. This will be the end of Hecate, and there is no other option. So ask yourselves, what would Wonder Woman do? With that, everyone vanishes.
Son of a bitch.
Meanwhile, up in Olympus, Diana continues destroying the
I
place
missed
of
so
the
many
old
times.
gods, and she hears a voice calling out to Hecate, telling her that this is wrong. She looks over and Zatanna goes on stating that she should have trusted Diana more. She should have helped her. And right now, that's what they're going to do for Diana. For Wonder Woman, take the witch down. From inside of the collective unconsciousness, Diana watches as her friends begin to make their final stand, and she begs the aspects to tell her what to do. The maiden and the mother tell her that she must hold on to what is best in her. Hold on to her heart and do not succumb to darkness. Do not become the crone. Hecate's first act of magic divided it in a train. All of the troubles spawned from that division. All paths forward must take that into account. Diana tells everyone to stand back, and Zatanna shouts to Circe, telling her that they need her in order to restore order. She said it was. Diana stops her, stating that she wasn't wrong. This feels impossible, but there's something that must be done. Please, everyone, stand down from the final fight. And as she falls to her knees, she calls out to Hecate, begging for her to listen. Hecate yells for her to continue the destruction of Olympus. Her goddess commands it. Diana tells her she knows the story. The other 2/3 told her she knows the pain that she feels and the hatred inside. There are things that need to be changed, yes, but this is not the way to do it. Release your control and use your incredible
that
power
hammer
to
is way
heal
better than I
magic. Do not tear it down. Hecate
credit
shouts that
for.
she will not yield, and Diana continues to plea, asking her, do not make me kill you. Hecate scoffs, stating, that possibility ended years ago. This is what I am now, and this is all that I will be. Diana looks back at Zatanna, telling her, I'm going to need your help. You're going to have to use your magic. Zatanna pauses for a moment and then tells her that her magic would open up a door to the other kind. It's too dangerous. They'd be trading one unstoppable force for another. And Diana says that she knows the cost of magic. She also knows what must be done. Zatanna stares at her and quietly says, Nepo eth rude. There's an ear-splitting crack-a-kaboom as lightning strikes, and Hecate calls out, asking, what have you unleashed? The jagged voice of the upside-down man says, yes, I remember this power from so long ago. I can taste it already. Within seconds, the upside-down man latches onto Hecate and he begins to devour her, slowly ripping her to pieces, bit by bit. Using the last of Hecate's power, Diana opens up a portal back to Earth, focusing her power and draining the last of the witch mark. As that portal closes, the witch mark fades and the death rattle of Hecate echoes throughout all of magic itself, letting everyone know the witching hour is finally over. A few days later in the Hall of Justice, Diana
It's
sits
not
alone.
bleeding.
Zatanna says that it seems the
Minor
necropolis and the
miracles.
Parliament of Flowers are sticking around. But they are starting to realize that their master is gone, and they will have to play by the old rules if they don't want an all-out war. Swamp Thing isn't taking it well, which is to say that he disappeared into the Martian Rose Garden a few hours ago. Bobo and Kirk are handling the debriefing with the rest of the League, and Superman's just upset that he couldn't save all of those people. As Zatanna sits, Diana tells her that she knows how he feels, and she is so sorry about all of this. If she had respected the raw power of magic, maybe things would have been different. The other kind are closer to the reality than they have ever thought possible. Olympus is being devoured by them as we speak, and her gods have long since left their heaven empty. Zatanna smiles, stating, hey, their little ragtag group just saved magic from the virtually omnipotent god. That's gotta count for something, right? And Diana says that she can feel that something still bothers her, though, and Zatanna says yes. But under her skin, really, when Hecate's power was broken, it was split into 5 pieces, with her, Witchfire, Menatau, and Black Orchid. That's 4. Someone is unaccounted for. And that power flowed from host to host. That would mean that the final host has all of Hecate's power, whether they know it or not. The other kind might not be the only threat in the horizon. Meanwhile, over on an island, in the middle of nowhere, a cackling laughter echoes throughout the stone halls. The plan worked far better than she had ever imagined. How easy it was to guide them to her own ascension. She often dreamed of this moment over a millennia ago, but now, that moment has finally arrived. The old goddess of magic is dead and the new goddess is born. Reality trembled with the might of Circe's laughter. The fools actually believed the witching hour had drawn to a close, but the true horror has yet to be seen.
Ah, fuck me.
A chimpanzee walks into a bar.
Why does he keep
This
doing
may
that?
sound like a joke, but it's something far sadder
So
and stranger
strange.
than that. The bar belongs to perhaps the noblest man the chimp has ever known, Jim Rook. He was the Night Master,
It's
carrying
gotta
the
be a
sword of
bug
the
or
night.
something.
Rook was the protector of the magical realm known as Mira, and as a mystic superhero, he also defended the mortal world. He did it with a smile and without a
See if it
complaint.
does it
The
again.
chimp watches and admires how, no matter what, Jim's duties never seem to bring
Yeah, what
him
the
down.
hell's going
Not
on?
once. Jim died, giving the heroes of Earth a chance to escape
Must just
a cosmic
default to, like,
nightmare
the last
looming
place
over
I
him.
saved
Today,
at.
today is Jim's funeral. So, the chimpanzee drinks. The Oblivion Bar is filled with those of the magical world. Some approach the chimpanzee and they wish him well, but the chimpanzee doesn't respond. The bar fills with stories
Okay,
of
so it just reverts
everyone
to the
telling how
last
their
save.
lives intermingled with Jim Rook. The chimpanzee drinks.
I
He was a
believe it's
detective.
about
His
4
mind always
days. I think
driving towards the
I
solution.
think
In the
on
absence of mystery,
PlayStation
it turned
it's like
inwards,
4.5
and it
days or
turned
something like
dark.
that.
And he does it the best way that
But
he can.
that I plan
The
on
seat
doing,
saved for the chimpanzee is in front of the
as soon as it
others.
drops.
They should be together.
I'm
The
looking forward
chimpanzee
to
stares
Outlaws.
down and away until he leaves, and then he drinks. He's barely aware of the service going on behind him, those sitting grieving. And the chimpanzee, he drinks. The phantom stranger approaches the chimpanzee. He informs
That's
him
just
that
his
he is now the
normal
owner of
life,
the bar,
buddy.
That it is bound
Every
to
day,
him,
Bravo's just
and
going
the
out,
chimpanzee drinks.
tracking
The stranger
down
tells him that Jim
big
Rook
titty
left
goth
something
ladies.
for him. The sword of the night. The protectorship of Mira. The chimpanzee looks at the sword placed on the bar, knowing a
This
pact
place
was
got
made.
really
He knows
swarmed.
that it is his responsibility. He knows that it means that his friend believed in the best of him, and it's time to live up to that. But first, the chimpanzee drinks. Now, in our current time, Bobo burps, with Zatanna covering her nose, stating that that is the foulest thing that she has ever smelled. Isn't he supposed to be working? But Bobo, aka Detective Chimp, yells that he is working. Can she tell how many people died in this place in the last
Esther.
week? Because he sure as hell can't. And the drinking is what facilitates the working. Tracy storms in saying that what he means is that it facilitates making the witch bartender
I didn't
that he
mean to do
pays
that.
next to nothing do all of the work of cleaning the remains of their dead friends. Diana stops her, asking if she's okay. And Tracy tells her no, she's really not. Diana hugs her and tells her that she mourns with her. And Tracy smacks Bobo, asking if he saw it. That's what
Alright,
sensitive
maybe I
people
can
do,
catch a
Detective
break
Chimp.
here.
Bobo eventually
Or
spins
not.
back in his chair,
Fuck.
asking what brings them to his fine drinking establishment. Are you moving in or something? Diana tells him that the other kind is already devouring
There we go.
Olympus as they speak.
I'll
The
be
barrier between
fine.
them and their world is thinner. They could break through at any moment. Swamp Thing has been feeling rumbles in the Tree of Wonder, so he and Constantine have gone off to try and hold off whatever it is. But Constantine believed that there was something in Mira that may help them, a power of some kind. They need help getting there. Bobo stares at Diana for a moment and then says, no. Satana takes the night sword off the bar.
Oh, I think it's the rain. I think it's supposed to be the rain in the game.
Going. Satana opens up the portal to Mira.
It's just it's the rain. It's just a shitty effect. I
have to move quickly.
I don't blame you for making this sound like static.
Very bad idea. And as Diana, Zatanna, and Kurt Langstrom, aka Man,
I don't know why it's so
Bobo asks if anyone is even listening to him. Tracy tells him of course not. He got to play hero for a hot second, but they're all about to get to know him a bit better, aren't they? They're gonna go to the world that he messed up. Bobo sighs, stating that her dad was a lot nicer, and that's all he's going to say about that. Hold the fort, kid. I've got some shit to face. While Bobo finally works up the courage to cross over. Over in Salem, Massachusetts, Swamp Thing and Constantine are staring at the Tree of Wonder. They felt him coming.
Oh my god,
so they sent their allies to a distant world on a mission unlikely to bear any fruit. With who's coming, they very well may not see their friends again. But if so, what of it? The Parliament of the Tree is gone. No matter how hard Swamp Thing tries, he feels nothing. And if he dies, he is no longer certain that the Green could even regenerate a new protector in his place.
I do have an antibiotic.
Then there's Constantine. His heaviness in his lungs grow each passing day. There is a constant pain. All of the protections of the demon's blood allowed are gone.
Energy
drink? He takes a
drinks?
cigarette from the pack and he says, all right,
energy drink doesn't give me energy.
Yourself, Naboo.
Go figure.
Blinding light swirls around them and Naboo asks, might I said it before, that it would be foolish to come here. Constantine lights his cigarette, telling him, yeah, well, I've never been the listening type. Constantine tells Swamp Thing to show off the new thing that they've been practicing, and with that, the ground violently shakes as Swamp Thing grows in size, with Naboo telling him, this is unwise, magician. Constantine tells him, yeah, don't really care anymore. Kill him, Swampy. Swamp Thing punches down where Naboo is floating and tells him, with pleasure. As Swamp Thing narrowly misses the mark, Constantine hits Naboo with a hellfire blast, and Naboo asks, do you truly think that this kind of power would even make me flinch, magician? Is that what you wish for? To burn an arcane fire? I can fulfill that desire with ease.
Oh my god,
As Naboo
I might
flies up,
survive.
a voice calls out telling him that that is enough. And the Phantom Stranger appears behind Naboo, his former friend, the being that controls Dr. Fate, telling him that he believes that it was their plan to catch the attention of the higher powers of magic on this plane. Meanwhile, over in Mira, Diana charges in head first into the fiery breath of a dragon, while the others fight off a horde of undead skeletons. Satana cuts down one of the skeletons, stating that this world, why is everything so undead? And Kirk Langstrom flies up, attacking, stating, it's incredible. How does a skeleton carry itself in armor with no muscle or tendons? Bobo tears through a monster, stating that the answer to all of those questions is horrible magic. It's always going to be the answer here. The problem is I'm the one who cast the spell. Zatanna stops everything. Wait, this is your fault, Detective Chimp? And Bobo asks, are you really surprised by that? Suddenly an arrow falls out of the skies into the undead at the same time that Diana fells the giant dragon. She hops down, telling Bobo that there is the cavalry coming. And Bobo says, yeah, I figured as much. Just over the hills, the sounds of stampeding horses.
All right, well, you know what? I think that's actually going to do it for me today, fellas. And what a good day. I got two of my best buddies on here, JD and Bravo. Bravo and JD. It's like the triple triad of trouble here. But, man, JD, have a good day off, man. You deserve it. I know that you work those long hours. And Bravo, you better get some of those titty ladies. Like, just get one. You know, let the rest go. Save some for some other people. But, you know, whether you watch now or later, wherever you are, whenever you are, be good, be safe. The future's going to be good. And I can't wait to see more. Take care.